All right, I apologize for the delay there. Thank you. But we should be up and running and live on.
Okay, we're broadcasting and recording. Great. Well, welcome to the City of Harbor Springs Planning Commission special meeting on Thursday, July 31st, 2025. It's about 5:35 p.m. local time. We have a slight delay to get Zoom running. And Jeff, you want to do roll call?
Bill Mulder.
Here.
Barry Lustgarten.
Here.
Bob Buckner.
Here.
Jeannie Benjamin.
Here.
Vanessa Warren.
Here.
Kenny Stewart.
Here.
Tony Johnson.
Here.
Chip Everest.
Here.
Mark Bidet is absent. And welcome back to the Planning
Thank
Commission,
you.
Jeannie.
Thanks.
Yeah, in fact, that's first order of business. Let's say welcome to Jeannie Benjamin.
Thank you.
Join us. All right, so here's how this worked. I'll follow the story. So City Council needed another member for the rest of the year. So many people applied. Buckner was chosen, so Bob has joined City Council for the rest of the year. And then he was named back to Planning Commission to be the City Council rep on Planning Commission. So he's here. So his term was vacant, and Jeannie was selected to fill that term. So that's great. And Jeannie, do you want to introduce yourself at all, or you know, say why you wanted to sign up for Planning Commission? Anything we should know?
I'm commission. I don't know. Jeff and I talked about it. I don't know for how long, and enjoyed it. And now I have a little bit more time, so I thought it'd be interesting to get back.
Fantastic. All right, great. Well, we'll welcome your experience. And next thing on the agenda is approval of minutes, and we do not have any minutes because this is a special meeting. Great. Then we can go to public comment and correspondence about things that are not on tonight's agenda. And the only thing on tonight's agenda is a discussion of the zoning code. And we're specifically going to be working on dimensions and districts.
And elevating your status to a God status. I mean,
Sounds
it's
like the Democrats.
pretty much.
Okay.
Well, it does. All the money comes to them.
Somebody
Yes. Yes. So is there anyone who would like to address the planning commission? Oh, person. Go ahead, Pat.
Good evening. I address the planning commission. Is it on? No. Good evening. Start again. I addressed the planning commission at your last meeting, July 17th, and presented you with a petition that was signed by many people who live in the Glen Drive, South Drive Street neighborhood. That was following our association meeting. And that petition that I shared with you was all about our opposition to duplexes in our neighborhood. And I outlined the reasons. I have updated petitions. I have one for each of you as members of the planning commission. Now have about 40 signatures from people, a large percentage of the neighborhood who is in opposition. What was previously discussed in 439 as duplexes in our neighborhood. So I have one of these for each of you, and just so that you can know what the views, perspectives, preferences of the people who live in the neighborhood are.
Great, thanks.
This is our goals. So can I distribute these to you?
Sure.
Okay, great.
I do have something to say.
Yeah.
I do it one thing.
Sure.
I'm Janie Jenkins. I live at 441 2nd Street, and I too have some petitions from property owners, from about 47 property owners from the south, what you call the Southland Granville area, the Ottawa Association, the Cottage Lane Association, and the boundaries are from like 4th Street south to 2nd Street to Church, to the just past the Ottawa, so the Ottawa Reservation Complex on 2nd Street there. And it just basically says the undersigned residents and property owners of Harbor Springs strongly oppose duplexes, triplexes, or rezoning of existing single family residential areas to residential multiple by SLU or planned development anywhere in the R1C, including the Southland, Granville, Ottawa, and Cottage Lane Association. But I only have two, one for you and one for you. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Patrick, you got something for us?
Yeah, please. My name is Patrick Kenny, 134 Bay Street, and I wanted to comment regarding the last week's meeting, or not with last week's meeting, but whenever the meeting was. And it was in regards to the question of downtown height of the units and the inclusion of third story. And one of the citizens, I think it was perhaps Pat, made a comment that many of us like the way things look as they stand. And I know that to which point, Jeff, you made a comment that I want to quote. You said that every single applicant or every single potential applicant that I've had has come to me to talk about the potential of purchasing a downtown building, has always asked, can I go 3 stories? And when they hear no, half of them walk away completely. And so on hearing that statement, it was confusing to me. And I wanted to look into that issue. I wanted to, not that I doubt that is what's happening, but I wanted to look into it from the standpoint of, has that affected the sale and market of properties in downtown Harbor Springs? Meaning, has it casted a cloud on development or on potentially hampering the value of downtown properties? And so I did a deep dive. I looked at every single property that was sold since January 1st of 2020. There was roughly 52 properties that came to market. And except for one, Yummies, all of the properties sold within 63 days. That was from the first day that they were on the market, through inspection, through financing, and through final close. That does not include a handful of them that actually did not make it to market. They didn't even come onto the market. So that average speaks to what I think is a very robust time frame for putting a property on the market and having it sold. Furthermore, all of the 52 properties sold within 5% of the asking price. That does not include those properties that actually sold for over the asking price. These sales all occurred within properties that did not have the inclusion of the third story requisite. It means that there's huge demand. And it's huge demand for what we have, not for what could otherwise become in the eyes of a developer. The demand is huge, and we have not lost sales because we do not have a definitive answer on the third story issue or the height restriction. That is, to me, an important distinction, at least to make sure that you all keep that in mind. The statement of otherwise, hearing it separately, that half of the people have walked away from the table, how relevant is that? When you look at the facts of the matter and the way that I interpret them, it actually speaks to the contrary. In my opinion, it speaks to the fact that yes, those people who are buying and investing in Harbor Springs want it to be the way it is. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Patrick. Great. Any other comments? All right, let me go Zoom real fast. I do not see any hands up on Zoom. Okay. Good. Well, let's get into the meeting then. And first thing, I think, let's talk about our possible schedule to complete our work on the update of zoning. Yep, could you scroll down? Yeah, there. No, is it up one or is it down? Oh, it's in the back.
Is that the back?
Like what?
I think I had that place.
Yep, there it is. No, that's not it. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So planning commission, this is where we stand right now. Today is July 31st, we're having a special meeting. Topic is districts and dimensions. And the goal I'm suggesting is that we say we're going to complete our decisions on districts and dimensions. We're going to pencil in values on our worksheets in every single square, and then we can move on. If we were to have an extra meeting in August, we could complete the uses for all the districts. And when we do that, we are ready to take an overall look at completely the complete draft of an updated zoning code. And if we do that, then we could have some public open houses in the month of September. I penciled in 5 here over 2 weeks. And then we could take the input on that when we get together at our normal meeting in September. Take a look at the overall document again, decide if we want to make any updates based on what we've heard or second thoughts or whatever. And then if we're ready, we could hold a vote on it on September 18th and send it over to City Council for their consideration. So we could, I think with one extra meeting in August, get this done essentially in the summer when most of our folks are here. So it's up to you though, whether or not you agree with that, whether or not you can do it. And the date that I was suggesting is August 14th. And that's going to be, we're only going to have a week off till the regular meeting. We could do it.
Do the rules allow for that meeting 1 week prior to the,
Yeah, I mean,
in terms of mail out packages and timing and all that sort of?
I think the potential difficulty would be depending on how many changes we make. Whether staff will then have time between that meeting on August 14th and August 21st, if we will be able to compile everything together to have that final draft for you at that meeting. And that's, I think, more of a John question. If that timing works for that. Most of the articles are probably in a form already ready to be put together. It's just the finalizing of Article 3 and a couple other changes.
It's doable. Doable? Would be great. Planning commissioners, what do you think?
I'm fine with it.
I am fine with it as well. We need to get past this dimensions issues. I mean, when you're hearing people voicing concerns, they're expressing concerns about uses, not dimensions. And that they want us to do it. I want to do it. I want to get that taken care of, but we can't do that until we get past dimensions and how many zoning districts. So let's get that done today, and then we can really start getting into the meat of the issue, which is, are we going to allow duplexes? What are we going to do in terms of uses within each one of these districts?
Great. How about that end of the table? All right,
If asked, I will serve.
to take another one for the team? All right,
Everything else.
good. Then Jeff, it sounds like we just agreed to a special meeting on August 14th.
Here's a question, Bill.
Oh, Carmen.
And then you may need to do this, when you do the final voting. You might do it in one meeting, review the whole thing with all of us, get through it, and then do the final vote
That's the way it's structured right here. Right.
separate.
Yep, it'll be a public hearing. Yep, we'd all take a look at it, public, planning commissioner in one document. Think about it, see if we want to adjust anything and based on the open house. Input we can do. So, and if we're not ready to vote, we won't vote.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, August 21st is our regular meeting, and I had a request from a member of the community to see if we would consider moving that date because the Humane Society is having their benefit that evening.
What would be a proposed alternate date? 1 day either way kind of thing, or are we looking at a whole different week?
It would have to be that week.
Mhm.
I mean, does anybody have a conflict with the Humane Society benefit?
Oh,
No,
No,
And I can't make any day but that day.
Except that, okay.
I believe that we have received an application for a site plan review, and I think they're expecting to have a meeting on that day.
Okay, so it sounds like we have to keep it for that. And, all right, so, got our schedule. And we can move forward. All right, next thing I had is, Jeff, let's go back to our zoning code update goals. All right, this is, we're gonna go over these. We need every meeting to remind us of what our goals are for this project and make sure that we're in sync with them. So as we're making decisions tonight, for instance, we can mentally refer back to this. And those goals are to sync with the city's master plan and future land use map. Improve the clarity and usability for residents, staff, and professionals. Reduce bureaucratic processes and costs for residents. Provide more options for property owners. Address potentially undesirable outcomes from the current zoning code. Anticipate the future needs. We have a strong preference to preserve the property rights of owners and the term of Harbor Springs. Okay. Jeff, could you go to the worksheet of the zoning districts? Yes. Okay, planning commission members, let me take you through these one by one and show you where we're coming out, because there are a couple changes and recommendations on it. In fact, and then, you know, take mental stock. We've really made good progress, probably more than it feels like. So R1A single family, that's likely going to continue the same similar boundaries. So that's essentially done. R1E, we said will continue like the same similar boundaries. So that's essentially done. We're going to combine R1B and R1C, and we're going to work on the dimensions tonight and make some decisions. R2, two-family will continue, and that one's essentially done. Agricultural residential will continue. That's one we're going to make decisions on tonight. Residential multiple will continue, and we've got some recommendations in the package for that. Mobile home park will continue. That's essentially done. Transitional residential. We're figuring on moving residential properties to a district to be named later. And the yacht club would be attached to CBD. And John can tell us more about that solution, but that's what we're recommending. Central Business District is essentially done, with the exception of just selecting the building height that we want to go with tonight. And then here's what's new. Last meeting, we considered whether or not we could reorganize the non-CBD businesses in the city. And an idea, I think Bob threw it out, was could we combine the B1 and B2 existing below the bluff businesses into a new single district? And that's what John and Jeff are recommending for us. And these could maybe be called downtown business or downtown business. And then likewise, for businesses above the bluff, John and Jeff are suggesting a district that could be called uptown business. And that's all pretty good. Residential office services will continue. That's almost done. Waterfront will continue. That is done. Waterfront resort will be eliminated. Residential properties will be moved to an appropriate residential district to be named later. Manufacturing will continue, but be called industrial. That's essentially done. And community will continue, and that's essentially done. And so we'll be going from 17. I miscounted. Right now we're at 14 potential new zoning districts. So not as big a reduction as we were thinking in the very beginning, but that's where we stand. Any questions on that? Okay. So we really are in good shape, and let's finish all the dimensions tonight. Okay. We'd like to go back to Central Business District. That's where we left it last meeting. Okay, that sounds like a rousing yes.
Yeah.
Good. Audience, how about you? Yay.
What's the page number? For your worksheet.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, Ken.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we heard a lot about this last time. We've heard a lot about this, you know, we've thought about this endlessly. So let's take stock of our. So, we already heard tonight, one resident say that, things should remain, in the CBD as is. And, that is a widespread opinion based on what I've heard. And then let's take a look at our other inputs. Jeff, can you go to the, downtown vision package? So this came up at the last meeting and people particularly called out the concept that was in here of having buildings with the height lower towards the bay and higher as they move towards the bluff. And I had heard about this, but I hadn't, I have to say, I had not actually looked at the downtown vision plan. And then found it on the city website, been there the whole time. And it's really something. This was quite a process they went through 12 or 13 years ago with 125 people involved in meetings and visioning. They had an office downtown that people could stop into. It was pretty interesting. So I'm just going to buzz through it really fast, not to belabor this, not saying, you know, we're recommending anything in here, but just to give you some more background on what they thought. So here are the names on the Downtown Development Authority, some community leaders whose names are still familiar to us. Next slide, Jeff. So here were the consensus goals that these 14 people came up with some professional help. And they're pretty broad. And again, it's DDA, so it's focused on downtown. And I highlighted some things in red that I just thought were of interest as a quickly buzz through tonight. And they said that current zoning and parking requirements are an impediment. And they said, interestingly, downtown needs to have more residents. We also need a wider range of housing choices, price points, both within the city and within downtown. They said we need to attract more year-round residents. And all that they believe would contribute to keeping the authentic feel and character of Harbor Springs. Oh, and look at that next one. I didn't highlight that. There's too much parking. That's interesting. Okay, next slide, Jeff. So here are the changes that they recommended, and there were quite a number of them. And the first red entry there is it says that two-story buildings should be required, not just permitted, but actually required. So we should not allow one-story buildings in the downtown. So that's a different angle than we've heard before. But they said height limits could gradually increase moving north from the bay toward 3rd Street. And that's, Carter, I think you had mentioned that a couple times. The district should have detailed architectural standards, and that's something that we've already got in the draft right now. And we should, this actually said, consider adopting a height bonus of 1 story in exchange for adhering to rigorous architectural design standards. So they were ready to award a 3rd story approval on downtown buildings if the developer adhered to architectural standards. Next page. Here are some more.
I'm not the one to ask.
They said that allow upper floor residential uses, which we do already, to encourage more downtown residents. They said to increase housing opportunities within the DDA by increasing density. So they said the D word right out loud. Eliminate special land use requirements, particularly those pertaining to restaurant, bar, coffee shops. So there's a whole different point of view from 13 years ago.
Can I interrupt on this?
Yeah.
So this was done when I was on the planning commission and I was
Okay.
part of DDA and all of that back then. And that's when we had a bunch of empty storefronts in Harbor Springs and
Yep.
there was a big worry that we're dying. So these recommendations actually came from the man who came from Ann Arbor, I think it was. I don't remember what firm he was with. So we went through all of it, deciding what fit and what didn't fit. So a lot of these things weren't what the planning commission came up with, or the people who were part of the DDA then. It was the consulting firm from Ann Arbor.
Okay. Well, the way the report reads, there was a consensus recommendation of those 14 people in the DDA, so. But if you've got different info, then,
That's the way I remember it.
okay, great. Well, let's look at the last slide on this one. And they were not very kind to our existing zoning code. They said the format of the ordinance is neither intuitive for non-professionals, nor is it particularly easy to follow. That's one of the main things that's led us to where we are right now, is to fix that. They said traditional suburban zoning ordinance language is perhaps the biggest obstacle to creating a distinctive, historic and special downtown. I don't necessarily even know what that means, but they criticized it. And they said finally there's an opportunity for more varied building heights because of topography of the downtown. So that was a point in time, 12 or 13 years ago, another point of view. All right, here's another input. Another input comes from the survey that the city did earlier this year. They said, what's the reasonable maximum number of floors for a building in downtown Harbor? And let's see if I get that. Oh, 3 floors, 55% of people responded that 3 floors would be an appropriate height. 21% responded 2 floors, and then 23% said 4 or more floors. Downtown building height, greater than 40 feet, 42% said that would be appropriate. 31 to 40, which is the range that we're in today, essentially would be 40%. So anyway, I guess what I'm taking away from all this is that there are a variety of opinions, and they are, wide across the spectrum. And that reminds me that when somebody speaks and says, nobody wants this, or I know everybody wants such and such, I've got to be careful not to do that, because this just shows there are tons of opinions on things. And so, we're going to have to come up with an answer on this one tonight that makes sense, for the community. And I know what they do. So there we are. All right, what do people think?
Well, I'd like to first of all talk about, is there any interest in this graduated approach? We've heard about that a couple of times. Could be tricky to kind of sculpt language around, but is that something we even want to tackle? If it is, great. If not, we can cross it off the list and move forward. Okay, I'll get the ball rolling. I'm willing to have a conversation and look at it. I think it does make a little sense if the concern is seeing the bluff from the waterfront, not blocking views. There's certainly reasons to consider it. You then really have to have several different districts downtown, or sub-districts, or overlays, or something. So logistically, it'd be a little messy, but it does seem to solve some of the concerns and questions.
I'll comment, because I don't want you hanging out there in the breeze all by yourself. Conceptually, it's good. I think there's a couple of key issues that we need to ask ourselves about. How many stories would we allow close to the bluff? Because there's talk of, well, there was that work we just heard that said, yeah, go potentially higher. Yet we have a lot of viewpoints that say don't go any higher than 2, even though we have some buildings of 3. So, would that open the options to higher than 3 stories? I don't know. The other is, it sounds like a nightmare to administer, because depending on what side of the street you are, you have different rights.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be difficult to administer, and difficult to forward off challenges to those things. I don't know, but it just sounds a little like we're getting off into the weeds by doing that. Conceptually, the idea of keep the visual line, I'm all for. I just don't know if if it's practical to do it in real life or not.
I'd like to echo those sentiments. I think that logistically, it's gonna be, conceptually, it makes all the sense in the world. But I think logistically administering that, you are effectively gonna have multiple sub-zoning districts within the CBD, which I think makes it considerably problematic. And I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but my feeling is more centric to the building height rather than the stories.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we're hearing people say we want to be able to see the bay from the bluff and so on. And that to me is all about how tall the buildings are, not how many stories there are. I made the point at the last meeting that ironically, in my opinion, the CBD is the only district in Harbor Springs that does not allow 35-foot buildings, which is so counterintuitive to what I would expect. That doesn't make sense to me. So I think we could clean the whole thing up by saying we're gonna go 35 feet in the CBD. I think you're talking about an incremental 5 feet, which is not gonna be any visually, in my opinion, any measurable impact on what the CBD looks like. And I would say, I don't care about the stories. 35 feet, Mark indicated last week that he could make 3 stories work in 35 feet if that's what somebody wanted to do. I think it gives the building owners and the tenants of the buildings a lot more latitude, a lot more rights. That would be my recommendation.
Sorry. Can I talk again?
Yeah.
My turn again. 2 other data points. John, I remember you submitted some information that talked about at what point do the buildings get so tall that it really changes the visual sight lines. And I remember your conclusion was we're a long ways away from getting anywhere to the point where it's cavernous down a street. And so I'm not saying we should do this, but if we allowed higher buildings, 35, even 40 feet, we would still potentially be safe from getting into that cavernous zone. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the other thing is a question for Jeff. One of the favorite height landmarks these days is the Cottage Company. And do you recall what the height of the front face is? I know they have some other stuff that's on the top that's set back, and forget about elevators and everything else. What is the height of the front face, just as a kind of a reference that we all see every day?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number for you. I know the overall height of the building, including everything. But I don't know the height of what,
49?
49.
49, including everything on top that we may not be able to see from the sidewalk. Is that right?
I think you can pretty much see everything from, I mean, that 49 feet includes 3 stories with elevator access to a rooftop deck above the 3rd story. So realistically, that building is 4 stories, 49 feet.
And based on some work Karen and Carter did, bank building's 50.
Tear it down.
All right, well,
I have the answer.
Bob's thrown out. Is the answer to
Without the stuff on top. Hold on 1 second, I'm trying to find it.
Well, I think I might have it here. It could be 48.5.
Yes,
at the elevator roof, 39 to the building roof. Yeah,
So my question about the front face, that would be 39.
sounds like the answer to the question you're asking would be about 39 or 40 again.
So I like your concept of 35 feet being equal to what is going around the city also. I also want to make a point about, it was made last meeting about the viability of buildings, new buildings, without having enough floors to build a residential unit on top, and what that would do to the economics of the project. And first of all, I don't care about if the developers what they want. That's just my viewpoint. But secondly, someone made I thought a really good point about, the fact is, if if there is a residential unit and it is enough to make the return on investment okay for the developer, the cost of that residential unit is gonna be at least $1 million. And is that the kind of housing we want downtown? I don't think that's the kind of housing I want downtown. And it would also impact parking. So I'm not for building heights that would allow residential units, or that would bring in more residential units because of that. So, I mean, I'm, capping it at 35, and I'm still on the fence about whether or not it's 35 all in, including elevators and everything else. Or not.
So as I envisioned it, it would not include elevators. It would be 35 feet. With elevators or, anything, any appendages above that 35 feet being allowed, provided that it wasn't another story or another floor, yeah. But that's what I was thinking, Jim. Do I need to make a motion, or do you want to have
No,
more?
this is all
conversation?
consensus, and we're gonna come back in a more formal way. But,
I'm leaning that way, but what about a rooftop deck above the 35? What are you thinking there about?
I'm thinking, no.
Mark, they thought whatever height we come up with, we would probably need to allow mechanical equipment up there. Because there's just nowhere else to put it in a building, so it has to be up there. But the thought was, I think actually from John and Jeff, and they said that has to be stepped back so that it could not be seen from the sidewalk or even the sidewalk across the street. And HVAC is only this big, so. Does that change your thoughts?
No, that's consistent, I think.
So I think I agree with the kind of conversation of 35 feet, no rooftop deck, mechanical setback. I think that's a fairly reasonable scenario. I also think we shouldn't be talking floor heights, what if our concern is building height, then that's our concern, let the developer be creative. They can have tall ceilings, they could have low ceilings. I mean, ultimately, if we're worried about building height, then let's just focus on that.
Vanessa, Barry? Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. So I think also 35 feet is the minimum that I think we should be looking at, for the fact that residential is 35 and to have less than 35 is crazy for downtown. As far as tiering, just going back, I think we don't have enough blocks to make that feasible. So I would say that shouldn't even be a thing. And then other than that, yeah, I fully agree.
Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree.
You could live with 35 feet?
Yep.
I agree.
You agree with 35 feet? All right, sounds like we've got consensus on, if I can restate it. Maximum building height in the CBD, 35 feet. Mechanical equipment could be on top of that. I think, is it 42 inches, John, or 48 inches? 42 inches, limit on mechanical equipment.
Push back so you can't see it from.
So you can't see it from the street. Planning commission?
We have to add no rooftop. Do you have to say anything?
No rooftop decks. No rooftop decks.
Are we opposed to somebody that chooses a smaller height building so that they could fit a rooftop deck on?
Oh, good
Rooftop
question.
decks anymore?
Great question, Jeff.
So if we're stating that, because in our existing zoning code right now, we have a limit of 2 stories, 30 feet. But then we allow for essentially kind of, I think, an unlimited height on whatever they choose to build to provide rooftop access, such as an elevator shaft or stairs. If we remove that exemption and just say that everything has to fit within 35 feet, including their rooftop access, would we be okay if somebody chose to have have an elevator fitting within that 35 feet, providing rooftop deck?
Or a
as a-
deck railing, top of a deck railing, would have to be within the 35 feet also, right?
I think if we word it that way, yeah, but would we still be opposed?
I'd be okay with
Because
that.
I think, I think we've discussed, and Mark had mentioned that somebody could squeak in a 3-story building at 35 feet. But they certainly wouldn't be able to have rooftop access on top of that. But if they chose to have a shorter 2-story building, they could potentially have an elevator on that. Would that be something that we would be opposed to?
I think the issue that we're trying to protect against for the community is views, and I don't see how a deck would block views, so I think that would be fine.
So let me try to restate again. Oh, go ahead.
What about a rooftop garden? A green roof.
Sure. No sunflowers, they're too tall.
I mean, would that have to just stay within what the mechanical was? So that's gonna determine what your green roof is gonna be like?
All right, restating. There's a concept on the table for maximum building height in the CBD of 35 feet. Number of stories would not be stated. The 35 feet is a hard limit, so the top of the building would have to be maximum 35 feet. If there was a rooftop deck, the top of the railing would have to be 35 feet. If there was a rooftop garden, the top of the plants would have to be 35 feet. Okay? Good. Sound good? All right. Sounds like we have consensus on that.
Let me just add,
Yeah.
totally agree, but I think what we also said was HVAC can go above 35.
Right?
And an elevator shaft setback can go above 35, is that correct?
Say no.
I think we should not. So
All right.
Just to clarify, just give you some clarity, I think Mark said on a 3-story building, the elevator would be hydraulic and they wouldn't need to have an upper building for the hoist, so.
That's a good solution.
All right. I think, yeah. Audience, what do you think?
What would be the height of the mechanicals then?
42 inches. Unless we learn different in the next couple of weeks.
35 sounds good.
All right. Sound like a compromise, reasonable compromise.
What happens if somebody's on the roof and they're taller than 42?
We're
inches?
not, they're gonna have to be shorter.
That's right. Or bend.
They have to crawl. That's what I-
Okay, all right. Way to go, team. We got a deal. Oh, and then, yep, CBD, no stories. All right. Oh, the other thing I want to point out is, to expedite things tonight, I worked with our zoning administrator and planning consultant, and they've put in blue type for us as either a recommendation or a possibility. You know, because we were just staring at blank boxes before and we were kind of befuddled. So, all right, CBD is done. Maybe we should loop in and close out the other business districts while we're on it. So page 11 is a proposal to convene, to combine today's B1 and B2 below the bluff. Conceptually, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Is there any hardship we need to be aware of for that tiny little piece of B2?
Great question.
Going up the hill. Otherwise, why not? You know, they're identical.
Jeff, can you think of any concerns?
Offhand, the only thing that I could really think of that are any real differences between B1 and B2 in the old code were the permitted uses that could be done within there. And actually, I was just working with somebody not too long ago, and one of the uses that are not permitted in B1 that are in B2, as an example, are like small medical offices or like veterinary clinics. But that's obviously something we can look at when we get into uses, but dimensionally, I don't believe that there.
It looks like on this, on the worksheet here, that dimensionally, the height is 30 feet for B2 and 35 feet for B1
Today.
today.
I think we had previously talked about making that change, to just have everything be 35. Unless we're,
Yeah. So dimensionally, there is a difference, but, so we'd be raising those B2 to 35 35.
And we're taking out stories too, correct?
Correct.
Right. But setback wise, they, both B one and B two have a 20-foot front yard, a 10-foot side. And a 20-foot rear,
I'm fine with it.
looking at both of those.
Okay,
I'm good.
everybody good?
Yep.
All right. Done? All right, let's look
We're
at.
taking out the stories though.
Taking out the story. Looking at B two, how do you like the name? Downtown business and uptown business? Anybody have anything better?
So we're all looking at the B2,
Yeah, actually,
page 12.
page 11 is downtown
Oh,
business,
okay,
and page 12
got it.
is uptown.
Oh,
uptown
okay,
business.
sorry, I'm with you now.
I think it's descriptive. I mean, it's fine.
All right, well, let's roll with that. Unless somebody thinks of a better name. All right,
That's what's on the wayfinding signs, right?
yeah. That's where it came from.
Your door signage.
Yeah, okay,
Signage talks.
Sound like such a big city.
sounds like we're good on uptown and downtown business. Let's go to ROS, residential office services. There's only about 12 properties or something like that in this district. And John raised the caution, John, our planning consultant raised the caution about cities that have had their kind of casual residential looking businesses turn into something else. And so that's why he recommended we stay with an ROS district. And he has visited and come up with the recommendations in blue. And so John, you want to take us through that? On page 13?
Yeah, the lots, lot width would be, I'm recommending the same as the R1B and the R1C, which would be a little bit less than what they currently are. The maximum lot coverage, right now it says the confluence of yard requirements by actual use and off-street parking, which really doesn't say a lot. But taking a look at how the properties over there are developed on Lake Street, it looks like the lot coverage is around 70%, and that includes the building and the parking areas, the driveways. So I capped it at 70 rather than this thing called the confluence of yard requirements. And then pretty much kept the same setbacks because it's really all built out. There's no vacant lots. They're all, will we get six businesses out of 12? Six out of businesses. Yeah, 6 lots out of the 12 lots are businesses, but they all look like single family houses. So you want to keep that character.
Right. So that's why you picked a minimum lot width of whatever the R1B and R1C get you that.
Whatever we come up with those.
Right.
Just a comment, as I was reading through this, it seemed like another way to think of it is, this is a continuation of R1C housing with an allowance for businesses that are in these buildings. And then they've made adjustments for parking or whatever, but that, I like that idea better than someone having new freedoms to create some new business that would be out of character.
Correct.
Right. The only question I have, John, is I think it really should reflect whatever we end up coming up with as far as dimensions for the R1B, R1C district. But as far as the accessory building max height, why not make it 25 feet, which is what it is for, what I think it's going to be for R1B and R1C.
Well, we could do it the same.
Yeah.
I just carried it over from what.
I got you. Yeah, no, I just,
All right, so
me,
let's.
I would make that 25 feet unless somebody objects.
We could probably decide it now. You okay with
Where's 25 feet?
bottom, very
The
bottom?
accessory building, Chip.
So comes with R1C is what your intent.
Right.
And I think R1C is probably gonna be 2 stories. Yes. Should we make it 2 stories for the accessory building there?
I think
Are we
25
trying to
feet.
get away,
Trying to get away from
away from story height and just list the,
We have stories twice on this one, though. I didn't know if that was because of the feel we were trying to create.
No,
Just get rid of stories?
get rid of stories.
That's my recommendation.
Okay, 25 feet.
So 6 lines above that max height, strike the 2 stories as well.
Yes.
Right.
correct.
All right, everybody good with ROS?
Mhm.
Great. All right. Let me go from the back here. So we are done with community, we're done with manufacturing, which becomes called industrial. We're done with waterfront one, that gets dissolved. We're done with waterfront. We're done with ROS. We're done with B2 uptown business, done with B1 downtown business. We're done with CBD. TR, we're gonna eliminate that, but we're still got our antennae up, watching out for problems or unintended consequences on that, right?
What was the answer on the yacht club?
Oh, John, yeah, you want,
Yeah, I took a look at the lane utilization over there in the 2 block area. You've got the yacht club, which is kind of like what's a nonprofit, but it's kind of like a quasi commercial, and you have the bank. That's commercial. That's it. And the rest of the properties are residential. So my recommendation would be that on the next iteration of the zoning map, that the yacht club, which actually extends all the way up to Main Street, their lot would be CBD and the bank would be CBD, and then all the houses would be just probably R1A. They would have to take a look at their size, but probably the R1A would probably be what they would be classified as. But then that would protect the status of the homes and would pretty much limit commercial encroachment into that area. Because under the TR district, it says we're going from residential to commercial. But if you do it that way, you're basically saying these are the 2 commercial lots and the rest of it's single family.
Does that allow someone to, in the future, tear down the current yacht club and build a CBD-like building?
It could be, yes. I don't know if that would happen. I think probably I would assume that the appearance of the yacht club is part of the historic heritage. Technically, yeah, somebody could.
One, I don't think anybody in the PR district's asking for a change. 2, there is an issue on setbacks.
there is one.
There is an issue in setbacks. Club has thought about tearing the building down and rebuilding it to build more space. They now have they used to have 200 members, now they have 550 members. It is turning, and there's music playing pretty much every night. So that whole thing is turning into a business that I don't think anybody in the neighborhood expected. So I'm not sure what the compelling interest of changing this is, but it almost feels like spot zoning, but current zoning handles it. So I get that there's a desire to reduce it, but it just means 7 homes in a building are gonna have to change their zoning in the future or be grandfathered in, and it sort of does the job as it stands now.
Well, the issue has been, regardless of what the opinions are, you have 2 or 3 master plans. At least I know of 2. Someone has said 3 master plans that call for Bay Street to be CBD, part of the central business district. And the TR district, the way that it's set up is that it can convert, those houses can convert into commercial uses. So what's the policy, what's going to be the policy of the community in terms of if you want to protect the houses that are there, which are fairly iconic, you want to remove that opportunity for somebody in the future to buy one and turn it into a commercial business, which the TR district would allow. So, what I've heard over the last year was we got to figure out how to protect the houses. The way to protect the houses is to zone them residential like they are.
I have another option. Why not rezone that area ROS? So it has some restrictions in visual residential look, whatever definition you put to that. but a business is allowed to operate there.
It's kind of the same theory between the TR, yes. Because an ROS, like we talked about before, an ROS was kind of like it's the same version of a TR. Right? You're recognizing that there's an area like on Lake Street that's residential, that you want to allow the evolution to professional offices, which has happened over there. It's the same thing with the TR district. The way that it's set up is, you know, we know that we have residential, but we will allow the encroachment of some limited commercial into that district, so. But yeah, it's the same thing. I guess that's the solution in a way, is designating in an ROS district, which allows both for, you know, residential and office to go. If someone wants to buy a house, turn it into an office.
I just have a question. Isn't the Shea House is also commercial in that area, correct? It's in the CBD. Am I right?
I thought it was zoned, is it zoned community?
The Shade House is in the CBD.
It's in the CBD. Jeff says it's in the CBD.
It's CBD, and so are the Main Street side of the TR houses are also CBD.
Yeah, yes, they are. Yeah, some of the lots they have two different zoning districts.
Right. But the Shea House is commercial, which indeed it is at this point.
Carter.
It's one of the things, so that, one, nobody living there wants to change, but it's the future land use map. And I cannot find any meeting in which that future land use map was created. And the only thing I've been told is it was a carryover from discussion in 2008. There's been no commentary in any of the master plans associated with why that was done or what its notion would be. So there's like very little information about why that was done. So if someone wants to bring the information forward, that would be helpful, but I think hanging a decision based on that future land use map is pretty thin.
Yeah. Have you written in regarding the history? You have the oldest house, isn't the house on the corner one of the oldest houses in Harbor Springs that's protected by, right? So that there's a history here in.
It's the Gardner House, built in 1880. So I would definitely like to see as much protection as possible, because once you're on that Bay Street side, if you see Little Trevor's Yacht Club convert to commercial condos, what have you, it'll make that whole block, then the neighbors on either side, it'll just domino effect all of it. It'll just be one commercial site.
Your only other option is you can zone the yacht club residential and make it non-conforming use.
We could make what it was.
Make it a non-conforming use.
But if they want to expand,
They can't.
they can't.
But they can maintain and they can improve, but they can't expand.
I love that solution.
Okay, so, we need to clarify what our goal is. Is the goal to protect the existing homes there so that they cannot be changed in new, commercial use? Or is it to create a district that has, you know, good dimensions and would give a property owner the option to change the use on their property?
From my perspective, is to protect the homes.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that there are two proposals on the table that I think address that. It's the one that John has advocated for, and the one that Kenny has advocated for. I think they both do a good job on that. The one thing that I would be interested in hearing is from Carter, what heartburn does that give you if we do that, other than the residents there don't want to change? So it does, I mean, is there anything that you can see if we were to make it a ROS, or make the yacht club part of the CBD and the bank part of the CBD, and then zone the rest of the homes residential? Is there anything about that would give you heart for your neighbors?
Well, I think if the yacht club CBD, it changes a whole bunch of things. It changes what they can use it for, how much noise they can make. They can build right to the lot line. That means if they want to do it and they have discussed it, they wouldn't tear down those hedges. So those are all things that they can then do. And I don't know what anybody reacts. They can build right to the right to Bay Street, so they've got no setback.
Okay, I get it.
So all that, that's sort of a change.
If you made it if you made the entire street residential, the yacht club would be non-conforming, and if they wanted to expand, the area they would have to expand into would be their parking lot, which is on Main Street, which is in the CBD. So they wouldn't be able to do anything with the house. But if they wanted to add extra space, they have the property, and the property on Main Street is used for parking,
Yeah.
which would be consistent with the central business district. But then that way you're protecting all of the houses. And I thought that was the whole strategy, was to protect the houses.
That's certainly what I want to try.
So to just finish it up a little bit, I'm not trying to protect us per se, I'm just saying, there's nobody asking for a change, so I don't know what.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I am a tad concerned that everything's always gonna be grandfathered, and so when we change this district, we actually created two districts. With the old TR district, everything grandfathered in, and the new district.
Not everything, rather than your grandfather.
Everything, all the existing conditions that I have in that house, I would imagine are protected under the old.
No,
If you've changed any rights to restrict, you've gotta put in a grandfather, so.
what would be grandfathered in with existing house that's there? If it was changed, if it's changed, they're residential. And if you change it to a residential zone, there's no diminishment of any rights.
When this was discussed before, some dimensions were gonna be changed, so
I mean-
there's a grandfather clause
I mean,
before.
I don't want to beat this to death, but this is kind of odd. That you got a TR district that was set up primarily to try to protect the houses, but then recognize that you had a yacht club that's in one of the structures. I mean, that's, when you read it, that's really what it's at. So the logic doesn't seem to fit to me that if the planning commission and the community said, hey, we really want to protect these houses, and we're gonna classify all this as residential, and the yacht club is non-conforming, which means they can't expand. To me, that's the best solution.
Yeah.
So what's the issue about keeping a TR district unless somebody over there is really thinking about selling for commercial use?
I think we're all in violent agreement.
Yeah, I think that
I mean, you're all with
John, to me, the issue on the table is, I'm hearing that we're all wanting the same thing directionally. To me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, is the better approach, what you're advocating, which is make it residential, non-conforming because it has a business, then it has all the restrictions of a residential property. That's A. B is my question earlier, and I don't know if this is better or worse. Would ROS do the same thing? If that's not any better than your solution, then that's fine. That's the debate that's on the table. I don't want to hear about yacht club becoming commercial. or
Yeah, but
anything else, right?
I think what I'm getting at, Kenny, is your ROS solution is the same. It's the same methodology as the TR. You're recognizing that there's a district that's in the stage of evolving. And the way the TR is set up is it's residential that could go to some limited form of commercial. The ROS does the same thing. This is a residential area that we are going to allow professional offices. It's the same.
So if there was one of those principles a year or so ago, is get rid of the districts that really don't have a purpose, then we could get rid of TR, protect the houses, allow the businesses to happen in those classic homes with either of these two mechanisms that we're talking about.
That's correct. The question I have is, do the residents that own the homes in that neighborhood, do they want their neighbors, to have the ability to sell to somebody that wants to put a business use next to them?
Within the confines.
Within the confines of that code. And that's really the question.
Fair point.
Well, it's really for us to make a recommendation that's best for the community.
Right.
And what I'm hearing around the table is top priority would be to protect those beautiful homes. And give the yacht club room to work and to run, and it kind of sounds like if they were in CBD, it would do that because they'd have to. Well, I'm sorry, they would be, the front half would be in residential, I guess.
Right, and the back half would be.
Back half would be in CBD.
And the way the state statute is set up with non-conforming uses is that a non-conforming use, if the yacht club was non-conforming, they have every single right to maintain, improve their property, repair, whatever, but they cannot expand beyond the setbacks that are currently there. So they're pretty much, they would be locked in.
But they could expand towards the main.
But they could expand towards Main Street because half of their lot is zoned CBD.
Okay.
And they could knock down and rebuild as long as it stayed in the same footprint.
It has to stay in the same footprint.
Carter, can I ask a question? Carter, you like to represent the TR district. Do you know anyone there that currently is a homeowner that is interested in creating a business within their home, within the TR district? They're itching to do that.
I'm not aware of any, other than that property up by the gas station maybe, but in the Bay Street area, I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
All right, so it sounded to me, check me, like a solution that would work pretty well would be to make that Bay Street segment of the TR district into residential. Or a district that we'll pick based on whatever our best dimensions are. And then the yacht club and part of those properties that are in CBD, does it stay CBD and go forward?
And I'll throw, we're tossing out options and alternatives. You could zone all that residential, including the yacht club. And then when you all dig into the uses that you're allowed, you could allow a yacht club as a special land use. Which means they would have the ability, to come before the planning commission with a public hearing and community notification. That would be another option, but the best option would be that you just zone it residential. And the house becomes non-conforming, and then they have the option to expand into the CBD.
Does that sound like what we gotta run with for this stage?
Yeah.
Karen.
Bill, just a quick, thank you, comment. Could you also consider making residential the two properties on Zorn Park that are also currently TR?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, there is just a island. There's one home, right?
Well, there's two homes. There's a home on Bay Street, there's a home on Main Street.
Yeah.
So two properties.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we have that on one of our maps.
Yeah. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
To be residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a TR.
Yeah, some residential district to be named.
Good, thank you.
So remember that when we come out with the new zoning map, we're all gonna have to check it really closely, for a lot of, so you remember those too.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, great. All right. So, TR, done. Mobile home park is done. Residential, multiple. Done. Did we do that? Those are apartments and such.
Yeah, or we haven't done that yet.
Yeah. So, we have some blue type in there. John and Jeff are recommending minimum lot width of 100, minimum lot area of 68, 64, lot coverage of 40, so they're pretty close to today's code. And our front setback is
So what are we looking at? R2?
H6.
Oh.
Residential multiple.
The numbers aren't making sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's over 2 pages, I see.
So this is like the apartments.
Yeah.
Lowell Street, corner of Lowell Street and Bay Street, for example, right?
Yeah, duplexes and more, okay.
These are often actual.
Friendship
apartments that
center.
are small.
Inside.
And I believe, Bill, with very few exceptions, the numbers that are being advocated are very similar to what it currently is right now.
That was the idea.
Yeah, the area that we talked about, Jeff and I did, was trying to figure out if it was more than a single family or a duplex, which is allowed in the code, and it was like a 3-story. That we wanted a mechanism that, based on height, the side yards would expand, and that's what we came up with, was 3 or more units would be 8 feet, or 1/2 the height of the building, which is ever greater.
Right, I get it,
So it would move, side yards would move, they would expand.
right.
I just had two questions on this one. The first was minimum lot area. I'm simply comparing current to what's being proposed, the fact that it goes down quite a bit. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. I just flagged that as a significant change, recommended change. The other was at the very bottom of this page, 1-story shed rear side setbacks. It goes from no shed to some sort of setback for sheds. Is that creating the possibility of sheds for multiple building like Friendship Center?
So thank you for bringing up sheds, because this is something that I chatted with John and Bill about. This is kind of a new creation that I'm proposing that we add to the new code. Historically, if we look back in time, accessory buildings predominantly were 1-story. Most of our current requests for accessory buildings are 2-story accessory buildings, type of a carriage house design with some sort of living on the second floor. So we have been proposing or discussing increasing the setbacks for accessory buildings to take into consideration these added sizes of accessory buildings with 2 stories and the proximity to neighbors with privacy concerns. So with that, then we started discussing, well, what if somebody just wants to put up some 1-story garage or something, and they'd like to keep it closer to their property line to preserve their yard. And so the idea that I came up with was that we create a new definition specifically for accessory buildings that are 1-story and under a certain square footage, call them sheds. And then that could preserve some of the existing setbacks that we have, which is more like 5 feet to a property line as opposed to the increase that we're proposing. So that would allow us to take all of the existing small sheds that people have on their property and prevent them from becoming existing nonconformities in a proposed new code if we choose to increase the setback for accessory buildings that are 2 stories and whatnot.
But I'm in the residential multiple world.
Yeah. So I
Are
think
you
we
talking about other residential districts or only residential multiple?
Well, we talked about just coming up with the idea of that definition and adding it to the code. And then the question would be, would we be okay with if, let's say that Hillside Apartments or one of these other residential multiple areas wanted to put in a small 1-story storage shed, and would we be acceptable with it being 5 feet from a property line, as opposed to meeting the other accessory building rules?
What kind of square footage on these sheds are we talking?
We haven't really gotten that far, but I'm assuming something like if you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's and you look at the size of some of the medium to larger size sheds that you can just kind of order and drop on your property. I think like maybe something like 16 by 20, or maybe we go smaller. But that's certainly something that we could just discuss of what we feel is an appropriate size.
So accessory buildings are allowed in this district today.
Okay.
Right, but not the shed concept.
The shed concept is new, and you'll see it in the other residential districts as well.
So
Yeah,
what's
the thought is that, if you have, a tractor for snow removal, you need a place to put it, you can't park that in the lobby of your apartment.
what's the benefit of having it as a shed instead of an accessory building? You could have multiple sheds.
Yeah, it could work, Gary. I think we're tending towards 10-foot setback for accessory buildings in other districts. And so if that is how we go, then, a shed is pretty innocuous. It might make sense to keep it 5 feet from it. But it's flexible. We decide we don't like the whole shed idea, then we have to do it.
We do have some language elsewhere in the code that limits the number of accessory buildings to a certain percentage of the principal building and a certain number. And we can certainly keep language saying that sheds would have to comply with that rule as well. So it would create a limitation where somebody couldn't just, like a large project couldn't have like 15 or something of them along the property.
So how about Kenny's question about minimum lot area change from 10,000 to 6,800?
Also, with
Wide open. I mean, we think 10,000 is good. You have 10,000.
These areas are all built out now.
None of this is vacant. It's all built already. So
Kind of academic then.
it is kind of economic.
Oh, I change it.
What's your pleasure? 10,000? You got it.
Yeah,
Is somebody already 6,864 and they're just not in compliant? Is that where that number came from?
You know, that number,
Considering
remember in the repealed code, the minimum lot size based on the Southward Crandall subdivision was 53 feet by 135. And that's where the 68-64 came from.
Okay, so this exists
This exists.
today, and that's why we
But
picked
not
that
in-
number.
But not in
Not in
residential
residential
overlay, right?
Um,
But in RM, you can put a single family.
Oh,
So that's why.
Yeah, unless we decide different. Next meeting. Let's make it 10,000. It doesn't matter.
Right, well, I mean,
Nothing's vacant.
if we're keeping the lot width from 100 to 100.
Yeah.
And then the lot area we're reducing. Means it's, it's changed, right?
Yeah, it'd have to be.
Yeah, so.
Great. I'm good. Okay,
That's fine.
good. You want to leave in the shed part right now and see what we come up with on the rest of the
We
district?
can leave it in now. We're gonna be hitting it
Okay,
everywhere we go now.
all right,
Now we've got some background.
good. All right. Now we're into the good stuff. Finally, months of preparation. Actually, we could jump to R2 two-family, number 4, page number 4. We had some of this done last time. So again, this is where two-family structures can be. It's in the same space that it is today, our current R2 district. And we just have to decide what makes sense. But you know what, why don't we just do R1, B, and C, because I think that's gonna influence what this may come out with. Page 3, okay, this is the one we've been waiting for. All right, this is the conceptual combination of R1, today's R1B, and today's R1C. Very similar, exactly the same uses, but slightly different dimensions, and it looked right for combination to us. And does anybody have any ideas on the name?
One question I've got is, are there any people out there that care about R1B having smaller lots down to R1C? What?
I guess I'm joining the party late and I apologize. I don't see a need to combine them. What's wrong? I mean, I understand the non-conforming, but I don't, it's kind of what makes Harbor unique because it's kind of funky that way. So I don't understand. Sorry, though, I don't want to take everybody's time to explain.
Well, stepping way back, I guess, we said you're looking to clarify and simplify and make the zoning board more useful and understandable. We were looking for zoning districts that we could reduce so that it makes it easier for somebody to know what zone their property is in and then what they can do with it. And when we looked at possibilities, the dimensions were so similar, we thought it was kind of an artificial distinction and it didn't add any value. So, but tonight we could say, oh my gosh, it's tremendous value to have a, 20% difference. Something like that.
I think one of the most compelling reasons for consolidating them is that there were a lot of R1Bs that were in, that should have been in R1Cs, but by definition of what the lot size was, and vice versa. There was no conformity to what the actual dimensions were. So you could find as many outliers in R1B as in R1C, and they should actually have been flipped around in different zoning districts. So there's a lot of non-conforming uses here. And so what we were trying to do is try and, in the context of the fact that there are a lot of existing homes that are non-conforming, when we come up with dimensional requirements that would address the majority of those non-conforming uses. And effectively, they are the same. If you look, John, didn't you do an analysis where there was?
I did.
Yeah.
We took a look at, the lot widths based on the current code, and we found that 20% of the lots in the city are non-conforming.
Right.
Because
Let's pause there for a second. Can you say that again?
So we took a look at the lot widths in the city. In terms of the 100, the 85, the 65, all that stuff. And then compared to the zoning, and we found that 20% of the lots, the single family lots are non-conforming. Because the lot width was not based on the historical development pattern, it was based on some number that somebody put into the zoning code. So for example, all of the Crandall subdivision pretty much is all non-conforming because their lots are less than 60 feet wide, many of them. So by making adjustments to the lot width, you can bring more of your lots in the city into conformity just by making some minor adjustments to the minimum width. But right now, based on an analysis, you get about 20% of your one-fifth of the housing stock is not. And that goes for houses that are zoned R1E and R1A, because those have rather large lot widths and acreage amounts. So, I mean, yeah, we took a look at all that. It just, the dimensions in the ordinance don't line up to the historical development pattern.
That's the point I was trying to make. There's a lot of residences in R1B that have smaller lot widths than 80 feet.
That's correct.
And there are a lot of residences in R1C that have significantly larger lot widths than 65.
Yes.
So what are we protecting?
Nothing.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we've, over the years, I mean, the last couple of years, we've had informational sessions. And especially like I've mentioned before, a lot of codes were not based on the historical pattern of the community. They were based on templates that communities use from other communities. So you basically were importing their dimensions, even though they didn't correspond with the historical development pattern.
Right. One other aspect that I'll ask you, John, and I don't know if you have the answer to this, or maybe Jeff does. How many lots in R1B or in R1C are undeveloped?
Not many. We have,
So
It's not many.
Yeah.
Handful.
I can try and bring an answer back for the next meeting, but it's.
I kind of knew the answer to that question, that's why I asked it. I mean, again, whatever we come up with here, it's not going to dramatically change the complexion of Harbor Springs in my opinion.
no, it's not.
Let me just build on that. If we maintain R1B and R1C separate, as two separate zones, we'll have all these non-conformities, 1 out of 5, right? If we combine them, we're still gonna have a bunch of non-conformities. So we're not fixing anything here.
What you are, if you combine them, and then within the dimension part, reduce the width, the size of the width of the lot.
Which size? The size of the smallest lot within those, or the average size? How does that?
Well, you could,
work?
that's a decision you could, the smallest lot in town is in the Crandall subdivision. Those are 53 by 135. That's your smallest lot. So all of the lots in Crandall subdivision are pretty much all non-conforming based on the R1C requirement. So if you, the more that you move the more that you reduce the lot width in the R1B, R1C, the more lots become conforming,
Okay,
okay?
so was that one of the drivers
Yes.
for the repeal code to go to a smaller lot size?
We took a look at lot sizes are always based on minimum, not maximum. So we said the minimum lot size in the community is the Crandall subdivision. It's 53 by 135. It's 6,864 square feet. The houses on it fit really well. You know, I mean, they look nice. They work, it's working. It's nothing that's really small, but that's kind of like your baseline in the community. And we use that as the minimum, not the maximum. Okay, so if somebody has a 65-foot lot, it's vacant. And the minimum lot size is 53, which is based on the Crandall subdivision, they're still building a conforming house because their lot width is larger than the minimum. So we were trying to establish a minimum that was based on the historical development pattern here, and then everything above it would be conforming.
I'd just like to add to that a little bit. I'd just like to specify that the Southern Crandalls, that's a platted subdivision. So at whatever point in time that was reviewed and approved, and those lots were brought in at 52.8 feet wide.
Altogether.
Altogether, right? And there's like 50 to 60 or maybe a little bit more of them. The other thing that I think is nifty to note is there have been multiple situations within that Southern Crandall subdivision where there have been opportunities for property owners to combine lots to get a 100-foot wide lot. And instead they've chosen to keep them separate and build on them individually. So we don't see very many of those in that subdivision where they have combined them to build larger homes. They've been happy with, or seem to be happy with, the size of what they can fit on those lots as they exist. And I think that says something for how well that size lot seems to be working.
Is there a problem for the city if we have a lot of non-conforming lots? Does that cause more churn in administration or penalties or fees or something? Why fix the problem? Is it a problem?
Yes, because if I bought one of those and I wanted to change it, there was one in Ottawa, I was thinking it was, no, Arbor. And I wanted to add a deck on the front. I was gonna do some things to make it look nicer. I was told it was a non-conforming house on that lot. And I wasn't gonna be able to change anything. And there was plenty of, but the way it was zoned. So you might buy one of those and wanna do something. And because of the non-conforming attachment to it, you wouldn't be able to.
So the problem is not for the city, the problem is for the flexibility of the owner who happens to have a non-conforming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In many respects, Kenny, a smaller lot width gives the property owners more rights.
Correct.
More
More opportunity.
Yeah. That's
Did you
my
change
perspective.
the verbiage of the non-conforming at all? Do you adjust that?
I'm sorry?
Is there a way to adjust the non-conforming?
Yeah, by reducing the lot width.
Pardon? There is a clause in there that on pre-existing lots, I thought. Whitewater stuff, I can't, H, pre-existing lots, nothing in the area requirements of this chapter relating to lot area width shall prohibit the right. It covered some of that.
Some of it, but not all.
So I don't know if we're maintaining that or are we.
Pre-existing lots is gonna protect a property owner. A lot of lot size requirements came into existence in May of 1997 with the Land Division Act. And really what that kind of says is, let's say that I have a piece of property that pre-existed 1997 and it's only 25 feet by 25 feet. I, as the zoning administrator, can't tell that property owner that they can't build on that lot. Right? We have to some extent, let them make that a usable piece of property. And that's where, as the applicant, they may go to the zoning board of appeals and say, I have this super tiny lot, I need to be able to make it usable. So I'm gonna need some type of a variance to be able to build something on this property. Whereas if, let's say, for the sake of discussion, somebody has a piece of property and they split off a 25 by 25 chunk today, it's not pre-existing. So that would be a violation of the zoning code as opposed to a grandfathering in or an existing non-conformant. And we wouldn't permit that to happen, and we wouldn't permit somebody to build on that. So that's what the pre-existing lot section, I believe, is trying to accomplish, is to recognize that if somebody has one of these pre-existing lots that came into existence before the changes to the code, it's still something that they can use. And that might come into example in the future. Let's say that we take a neighborhood that previously had 65 feet of a minimum width, and we decided to change that minimum width to 100. That existing 65-foot wide lot would become pre-existing lot. Does that help describe and explain?
Maybe.
So, John, does 20% non-conforming lots, does that seem like a high number?
Yes.
Kenny, I also want to point out, in terms of lot coverage, we have special rules.
What page are you
Page 3. You'll see that a few other places. Maximum lot coverage, if your lot meets or exceeds the minimum lot area, is such and such for you. But today there's a special rule for if you have maximum lot coverage for less than the minimum lot area. So that's the complexity that we have to do. There's also special rules on front porches for Southern and Crandall's in today's zoning code, right? So.
Yeah, that was something that was in the original existing zoning code.
Yeah, today's
And-
zoning code.
Yes.
Yeah. So they, planning commission had to come up with special rules to help those homeowners to have a front porch that made sense for them. So that's just one more example of why it would be ideal not to have as many non-conforming lots. So.
It just feels to me like moving R1B from, like, say, an 80-foot lot width down to 52, that just seems extreme.
I agree. Yeah. So let's talk about the actual implication on a property owner to do that. So let's say somebody is an R1B, they have an 80-foot wide lot. We put in a new 52-foot wide lot. What effect does that have on them?
Yeah, they can't build two houses on that side.
Two houses, those can split it, right? You can split it.
They could have a 105-foot existing lot, make it into 2 lots. Just the minimum.
But if, I think, Chip.
Buildings are all in the right place.
Right.
Yeah.
If people feel that the Southern Crandall subdivision is reflective of Harbor Springs in terms of the quaintness and the charm of it, then I don't see what the issue is with having a minimum lot size that reflects that subdivision, that platted subdivision. That's the historical development pattern.
Yeah, I'm not there, John.
Yeah,
So,
but see, the issue is when you take a look at, you zoom in on the parcels in the R1C and R1B districts. It's kind of like what Bob was talking about. They're all mixed up. You got large lots in the R1C, you've got small lots in the R1B. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense why the districts ended up being where they're currently at, because you would think like in the R1B, you would see some level of consistency, but it's all random.
I agree with that, but your premise that the Crandall neighborhood should be the template for the entire city.
No, I'm saying that's the minimum. That's just the minimum. That you're not gonna go below it. You could certainly go above it. But by reducing that lot width somewhat incrementally, then more of the lots become conforming and
people can do more on their property.
I think that's what
Yes.
Bob's analysis was spot on.
I understand. Okay, that point well taken.
What are we concerned about with the reducing lot width? What's the risk?
Here's the risk, Tony. The risk is that a few extra lots could be created above and beyond what could be created today. And remember when we did our density learning?
Yeah, yeah.
statement? There is such a small amount of unimproved property out there. And splitting a lot is extraordinarily difficult to make work. You know, if there's 100-foot lot today and it got split, you can't split it, actually,
Can't.
under any of the numbers we're looking at.
Right.
You can't even split a 100-foot lot because it would be non-conforming. And if there's a structure on either of the lots, the structure would have to be in exactly the right place in order to split off the other part of it. So it's pretty unlikely, and
And a lot of these are also under associations, so they have their own rules that you can't do.
so if you're getting nervous about agricultural lot sizes, that's not what we're talking about here, right? So this is the standard residential neighborhoods that exist in the town. Again, if we put in a smaller lot width, nobody loses their property, we don't take it away from them, you know, and they go on and live their life. So the question is, you know, would a theoretical 5 or 10 extra lots being created or possible to be created, is that detrimental somehow?
I don't think it is. We all recognize that 5 extra homes in town would not be a bad thing. We need.
So I'm warming up to all this and I see the value of this because for those areas that are now built out, there are nonconformities which restricts an owner's ability to do some things. By going to a smaller lot size, everybody's still all built out. It makes them conforming, allows them to be able to do things that they would like to do that are probably a good idea. At the same time, to your point, Bill, there are very few lots that are so large that they would be split. There might be a few. But Tony, to your point, okay, a few more, that's okay. So when we're talking about the realm of R1B and R1C, I see the advantages of going to a smaller lot.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a minute. Is there a risk that somebody can buy multiple adjoining lots and then redevelop? Of course.
Yeah.
So here's how it could go. Somebody would have to buy, I think we decided 5 contiguous 65-foot lots. Tear down the buildings, tear down all the buildings. Reconfigure the boundaries to make 6 new lots, and then they could build an extra home.
Then increase density by 20%.
And that's not an extreme example, though. You could, on Pine Street, you could buy 230-foot lots and divide them into 5. Now, again, devil's advocate, do we care? I mean, maybe that's a good thing, but you could buy 230-foot lots and put 5 houses if you want to.
And there would be a net gain of 3 homes. Okay. Aaron,
Maybe the density part, I think, which goes along with parking, even though this, if it's on Pine Street, it's not in the city per se. I mean, it's in the CBD per se. But I'm not sure, it sounds like we're going after a problem that, other than some setbacks for decks, et cetera, we're trying to fix a problem that really isn't there, but will create added density.
we'll be adding density.
Right, I'm not sure why that's a benefit.
All right, all right.
I disagree that the problem isn't there.
Yeah,
I think the problem is there for the people who own the property.
They
Well,
can't
and
do
you're
it.
talking about setbacks for decks, et cetera, right?
No.
No,
For houses. Projects.
for garages, houses,
Porches,
porches.
I mean, I'm all for giving the property owners more rights, provided it doesn't, significantly contaminate the charm of Harbor Springs, and I think that the smaller lot size does that. I personally had 60 circled on my spreadsheet, not 52, and I honestly did that because I knew that we'd be having a conversation like this. And if that makes the community feel better, then I'm okay with it. But it's not, you're exactly right, it's not gonna make a bit of difference.
So remind me, if you currently have a non-conforming property and you want to do something to it, what are your avenues to do anything? You go to the zoning board of appeals.
Well, I think, let's back up a second and look at what the issues would be if you have a lot that's too small. I think the main source of where this would be something realistic where a property owner would have a problem. Chip, let's say that you and I live next to each other. And one of us has a non-conforming lot. My lot is too small. We're required to have 65 feet. I only have 50 or something like that. And let's say that we discover that there's a problem with the location of an accessory building between one of us has a garage. We need a little bit more space, right? So we go to the zoning administrator to try and redefine where that lot line is between the two properties to solve an issue. The zoning administrator is gonna say no, because you can't do anything that's going to further change that lot that's gonna worsen or cause an issue with that nonconformity. So if we can eliminate and change some of these nonconformities with property owners, it may provide them some opportunities to fix some of these issues that they might see. And that is, I think, a legitimate.
But today, I mean, if you have a non-conforming property, you want to change something, what are your avenues? You can't, at the end.
Come into compliance. So if you have a non-conforming lot,
Appeals and get a variance.
well, if it's something that you can get a variance for. Remember, a zoning variance is only there to provide you with similar use of what other property owners have. If you already have similar use, a variance isn't appropriate. If you're asking for use that other property owners don't necessarily have, a variance isn't appropriate to grant. So it shouldn't be a solve-all answer. And also remember that generally speaking, variances should be granted out sparingly. It shouldn't be the norm.
The one thing I want to point out to you is if you look on page 3, which we're looking at, and you take a look at the minimum lot area under the current zoning code for R1C, it's 6,500 square feet. The smallest lot in town in the Crandall subdivision, which we based the dimensions on, is actually 6864, which is higher than the current minimum in the R1C district. So I just want to make the point. To me, that tells me right away that the 6,500 feet wasn't based on historical development patterns. It was based on an arbitrary number that was rounded up by somebody and put in the code. So
Why did you reduce the lot width to 52?
because that's the lot width in the Crandall subdivision.
I thought the smallest was 54.
I thought
It's 52.8. Another thing, we did a little bit of math in the background, and where with the current minimum lot size is 65 feet, 20% are non-compliant or non-conforming. If we drop down to 60, it changes the level of non-conformity to 15%. Dropping to 52 changes it to about 10%. So there would still be some properties non-conforming.
How many lots in the R1B are not conforming?
Non-conforming with R1B? Or
With 52 feet. How many, so if you, I don't know how to word it. I think of the bluff. So if you say the minimum lot size is going to be 52 and somebody decides to tear their house down, how many lots in R1B could be split? How many are larger than?
I can't say offhand how many are larger and how many, could be split. I just don't have those numbers now. But realistically, if a property owner was at the current minimum of 80, it would take 2 existing R1B properties to be combined to then be able to split to create a third. Similarly, where in R1C, I think if you had 4 or 5, you could combine them to get an extra.
I don't worry as much about R1B as I do R1B.
But again, let's look at that though. So look at the intersection of Pine and Center Street, right by the base of the school. Is there a reason that the north side of Pine Street should have different size requirements than the south side of Pine Street? Or is there a look at Summit Street over by Pepper? Is there a reason that the north side of Summit Street should have different size requirements than the south side of Summit? Does that make sense? And again, I think back to like the Bluff properties, I mean, those are predominantly built up. I think it would be very unlikely that someone would, you know, buy one and then buy the next one, tear it out. I mean, theoretically, it very well could happen. But how frequently is that gonna happen?
I guess my question is, our desire here is to reduce the number of non-conforming sites. Are there many existing non-conforming sites today in R1B?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there's plenty,
Okay.
yeah.
And a lot of them sit on that south side of Pine Street.
Well, it sounds like, what's on the table is potentially 65. We want to keep the bottom limit for the existing district when we combine the two. It could be 60, Bob threw that out, or it could be 52 if we want to make as clean a sweep as possible. If our top priority is to make more properties conforming. So.
And Bill, just to clarify, the difference in the probability or possibility of creating new lots is very small. Because there just aren't that many opportunities. And by the definition of what you're trying to accomplish, having a couple of additional lots, I don't know, 10 additional lots in town is not a bad thing.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed. It's just, no matter how you look at it, it's very difficult.
Yep.
To create one more lot made of any existing combination we have today.
I agree with our conversation here. I just am remembering voices from the public that were somewhere at some level of outrage because you narrowed the lots to 52. And is there a number, slightly larger number that matches today, whatever that is? Is that
it would be 65.
There wasn't I seem to recall a number like 54, 56, maybe I'm wrong. 65 is the baseline narrowest lot in the city's zoning code today. Is that correct?
That's 52.8.
No, in the current.
Oh, the current code, 65.
55. So some built smaller lot widths,
Oh, yes.
like this subdivision or historically.
Yeah.
And how did they go about doing that? Did they ask for variations?
So the zoning code came in 80
Well,
years after.
Yeah.
The zoning code.
Yeah. Southern Randall's edition was done.
I know it's old.
1800s.
So the 65 number was laid on top of existing neighborhood.
Right.
And made them all non.
Right.
What's this?
Well, I'll tell
And
you-
that's like throughout. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over Pine Street.
Right.
It's all over the
Right.
place.
A citywide code is a new concept.
Yes.
If it, I think it is beneficial if we could help some properties become conforming. That is just gonna be good for people and property owners. If 52 makes people queasy, I could support 60 and we would improve things. We have about 5% more properties would be conforming. We could take it as a win that we're giving property owners, a few more capabilities. And we could try it for a decade, or we could try it for, 5 years or something like that. This can always be amended. But I'm just not concerned by the math. There's just no way to create too many new extra lots. So we can help some people and have a very modest improvement by going to 60 feet.
But no, not to beat the dead horse, but given that there is no significant difference between the 60 and the 52, I don't see the reason to.
I know, John, I agree. Maybe it's just become more symbolic, than anything else, but we would actually help
5%.
35 or 40 properties.
Can I ask a question? Can you read the pre-existing lot section on the out loud to us, so we understand it?
We don't have that here. We could look it up if we found
It'd
it.
be interesting to hear it.
Darren?
Bill, I like where you're headed because I think Mr. Kenny, or Kenny Stewart's point was a good one. There was an outcry. I'm not for making it smaller, but if you can help some people by going down 5 feet, I would say 60 would be a nice compromise. It's all about compromise. We're not gonna make everyone happy.
As a resident and a voter, I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it myself. And I said it.
I would support 52 or 60. I'm thinking ahead to selling this, and I have some concerns how the optics might play out. I agree with the math. I agree with what 52 gets us. Some people never understood the benefits of a narrower lot, and they saw that as a takeaway. Now, to whatever degree members of the planning commission feel that that's an important element or not, that to me should guide your decision. I'm supportive of either number. I have a preference for 60 simply because of the public selling portion that we have to be going through. And is that a reasonable compromise and a reasonable gain for both sides? I think so, but I can support 52 as well.
Vanessa, what do you think?
Yeah, I can do 52 or 60, but we are doing this the second time. We did say we were going to get the public involved. We've gone through a lot of public input. And if the input is 60, then 60.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'm for 52, just for the fact that my lot is on 55, so that actually 8 houses in my association are 55, so it seems like that's kind of the trend now, so smaller lot sizes, and we're in the city, so I would push for 52, but I'm happy with 60 if that's what people are pushing for, so.
Sure.
Well, I like 65. Would I do 60? Yes, but I like 65 better.
Why?
And it feels too extreme. I just don't think, I think the people who have non-conforming houses or non-conforming issues, they can get around, they can figure a way to get around it.
Boy, remember the house that
Can't. They can't.
The line.
The line is the line and they can't do things.
It feels too extreme. Just
Their
saying how it feels.
lawnmowers are out in their backyard because they can't do anything.
extreme and like what we.
To change.
Out, we have.
The public outcry for change, let's keep it the way it is.
So public, okay.
In my outcry.
All right. Because we have 500 or 600 properties in these 2 zoning districts and very few vacant properties. It's just, yeah, okay. All right. Tony, where you come
Yeah. As you know, I brought up the risk conversation earlier. As we decided, there's not a lot of risk of density. We heard a lot, previously about when we're going for maximum density in the city, and through the analysis we did earlier in the spring, and unless somebody had the ability to buy a whole block and redevelop it, which is pretty small possibility, the amount of increased lots is minimal. So to help resolve the non-conforming issues, I'm gonna lean towards the 52. I don't see the risk. If we have to settle on something else, I'd prefer to see the 52.
Okay.
Well, ideally, I think 52 is the right way to go because it does help with the nonconformity, but I also know that psychologically, a number that's slightly larger than that would be helpful. The bigger issue for me is, as a practical matter, I don't think it really is gonna matter one way or the other in terms of the number of houses that get built, or as I said earlier, the complexion of Harbor Springs. So I would probably be in support of 60.
Jeannie?
I'm with Chip. I'm just the local girl who can't wrap my head around. So I feel like baby steps. I can't visualize. I've never been good at it. And so I understand what you're saying in the black and white. And I grew up in the little subdivision, whatever it is you call it now on Church Street. It makes me nervous to rewrite the whole thing. Little bits make me more comfortable.
Okay. All right. All right, one more comment, and we're gonna go.
One thing that was a big issue previously psychologically was, oh, we're gonna make the lots really small and we're gonna allow triplexes. We've already eliminated triplexes. So that's one part of the psychology on. Is it possible to say, let's make them all 52, but we can't have a duplex on a 52? Maybe the duplex has to be slightly larger. And so we're not talking about a major density. It's a small density. Would that psychologically help people who are really against the idea of let's pack this place in?
We can ask Chip and Jeannie.
I mean, are you able to make that kind of a rule that a 52-foot wide house yard couldn't have a duplex on it? That wouldn't allow.
We could, we haven't gotten to the uses yet.
Could I have a follow-up question? Is the concern of yours the amount of the lot that's covered, or is it the concern on parking?
I have no concerns. I'm trying to, you know, you were playing devil's advocate earlier. I'm trying to say, wow, if we can get that many houses into compliance, but also not create super density that people are against. If we can improve density slightly without hitting those fear buttons, is that a good thing? So if we say, yeah, 52 is fine, but no duplexes on 52. 52 has to, duplex has to be on 65 or something like that. Would that make people who are upset about density, you've already taken triplexes off the table, that helps some people. Would saying those minimum size lots can't have duplexes, would that help? And yet, and at the same time, get all those people back into compliance.
Because the requirements on minimum lot coverage are going to somewhat dictate, but they're not going to address the parking. That was one of my questions. If you've got a 52-foot lot and you want to put a duplex on it, you're going to be limited to, 40% lot coverage. So that kind of constrains that significantly.
Right, I come from Chicago, where our lot sizes are pretty small, and lots of people act into those areas.
Yeah, good point. Okay, well, let's take stock. Anybody on Zoom?
iPad 3 has their hand raised.
Who does? iPad 3?
And if they could announce themselves, we can ask them to unmute.
And then iPad 3.
They did unmute.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, you guys. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, J.R. Elliott, City of Harbor Springs. I have a question, but maybe it'll give everybody a bit of a break from this discussion that's.
No, I guess we really can't hear you that well.
Yeah.
Just
Speak
louder.
You're gonna have to talk.
Could you please speak up a little louder?
Identify.
It's
Janice
Elliott.
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
I'm going to give you guys a break from the discussion. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question that has to do with the next meeting, and I'm wondering what it is. Jeff said that there's a case that's coming up, and those people are counting on the Planning Commission meeting on that particular day. Can I ask if that's a lot split case?
Right now.
You're cutting out quite a lot.
Jeff, is that a lot split case that's coming up next on the planning commission?
No, it is not.
That's not.
Do you know what it is?
JR, do you have any input on lot width for us at this point?
Yeah, I'm confused why there seems to be a really big push on it tonight. I'm not sure who it is that's giving feedback that makes the majority of the people want to do it. So examples of what people are saying would be helpful. Why is it that you guys are pushing this? What is it that the feedback is to push you? Examples. Thank you.
Okay, first, I don't think anybody's pushing anything. We're talking about maybe 3 different alternatives in this particular dimension. We just discussed the advantages and disadvantages of each one of those. And we're about to try to get consensus.
We have another person on Zoom with their hand up.
Okay.
LW.
Hello. Thank you for your time today, and I've been following along the discussion. I also have the existing zoning code up. I wanted to, can you hear me? Oh, yes, my name is, my name is Lene Wells. I'm an urban planner. I'm with Align Planning.
Where do you live?
Where do you live?
Yep, 1451 Robinson Road, Southeast. I wanted to.
Where's that?
What town is that in?
Yes.
Robinson Road is a few miles north of Harbor Springs.
But it's in a township.
Robinson Road's up by,
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Grand Rapids, okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about page 21, the pre-existing lots of record, which identifies the plat of Southard, Crandall's Addition, and platted lots to the village of Little Traverse as pre-existing lots of record, which would result in those being, I guess, their width and their area being treated as conforming. So I'm not sure how many of the 20% are within the area that is already deemed conforming. So part of me feels like some of this is already being addressed in the current code. The other creative thing that we've done in ordinances, and I've written several zoning ordinances in my time, and I'm sure John has seen this as well, is where you allow a house, with a non-conforming lot, say in terms of area or width, they could still add on so long as they meet the setbacks, the side setbacks, the rear setbacks, so they can add as long as they don't increase the degree or extent of that nonconformity. So there are creative ways that can provide the solution to this issue when written in the non-conforming section versus combining these two districts. And I'm just kind of cautious about combining these districts without the use conversation alongside it as well. So kind of two issues. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Okay. What brings you to our meeting tonight?
Oh, thank you. I'm working with the We Love Harbor Springs group.
Oh.
I used to work for Williams and Works. I led the planning department there for many years, and then I went off on my own, and just following along and happy to give my my thoughts as you proceed. So I appreciate the work and the worksheets. It's helping follow along with this discussion. So thank you for the discussion that you're having today.
Well, thank you very much. All right, Linda.
Not to add to it, but when we're talking about duplexes, and from what I've heard, and I think the duplex issue is going to be very controversial And we may end up with no duplexes except in R2. So if the 52 lot, with takes care of the nonconformity, and gives people more, options, then let's not consider I think when we get to duplexes, they're gonna end up,
We'll figure it
yeah. Just my 2 cents.
out. Okay. We're about to figure out where we stand on this, Karen, real fast.
Just a quick comment. So I get what you're trying to do, the simplicity of combining the two and getting all these non-conformers into conformance. But in the last year, how many requests have you had for zoning variances that relate to this? My guess is very few, and my guess is the community would probably be in total in the Chip and Jeannie camp. I know we have dissenters here, but I think they would really.
Okay, let's be careful speaking about what the whole community agrees.
I'm just saying, in general, the community was very concerned about
know
shrinking lot sizes. And if we don't have a lot of variance requests to get these people back into compliance, then you have to ask yourself, well, then why are we doing it? I get it, we'll bring them into compliance. But if there hasn't been an outcry, you're fixing a problem that, yes, someday could be there, but it's not there now.
So we're supposed to be preemptive, we're supposed to identify problems, we're supposed to identify opportunities. This is a problem. I watched the ZBA meeting the other night where it was at Pine Street and Arbor Street. Old home that was way over the setbacks. They had a clever design. They were gonna add some upstairs living space, and there was a little corner that they couldn't fit in to the existing setbacks. They had to go to the ZBA. They had months of preparation, thousands of dollars worth of architectural drawings. And then they had to make their case. They had to come humbly and stand in front of, fellow citizens and ask for permission to do something very modest to their home. So I don't
Did was it granted?
it was granted, but it was thousands of dollars. It was, and I don't think a citizen should have to do that. That is just, my feeling on government is let's get less government, let's have people have more rights and more options. So
That's one of your goals.
just philosophical. All right, so let's take stock where we are on this particular one. All right, could people raise their hands if you are coming down on the side of 52 feet for the lot width on this one? Yeah, I could.
I could.
As well. Okay, how about 60 feet?
Yeah.
So is that a tie? Probably. And then 65? Okay, 2, good. All right, so we're kind of hamstrung. And here's another question. Should planning commission be worrying about whether or not the politics of how something looks? Or is that city council's job? Should we be coming up with the best technical solution and the best technical recommendation?
I'm not answering your question, but I think Linda had a point. I think with me, it's a matter of not knowing what that's going to do beyond conformity. So if we do that, what does that mean in the whole picture? And what have we not thought of, and what, I'm new to all this, so I don't have the vision of, okay, if we do that, we'd open up the floodgates, or is that really all it does?
All right,
So that was a good,
let's talk it through. What floodgates do you envision?
that's
What do you-
just the
what do you
thing.
fear?
I feel like it's drastic. And I feel like rewriting all of it made sense as far as the verbiage, but I don't know that it all has to be redone. Can we do it little by little and see? Right, I mean, we have a lot of people who aren't here in the winter, so do we really need that many things? What we need are people who can work in town. I think living above, as I say, a garage apartment, but I've been corrected, a carriage house, something of that sort, that makes sense. So does that, so I just don't see the whole picture. I don't like triplexes. I don't know about duplexes. I just don't get the whole
Okay,
thing.
we haven't even gotten into.
But no, I understand that, but doing this, does that open things up? So
Right. To Linda's point.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, we almost have to have the uses and the dimensions discussion concurrently. And I know that's not how you, and I appreciate the way you're doing it, but it does matter.
Right. My thought is we'll pencil in a number tonight. We're gonna talk about uses next week, and then if we come back and say, whoa, something, we hadn't thought of this, or Having something else, maybe.
Can I add another thought?
Yeah,
So you guys have mentioned a couple of times for non-conforming lots, just let them go get a variance. And it sounds like the thought would be that the variance would then be granted. The zoning board of appeals, one of their roles is if they see an issue that needs to be addressed, changes to the code, and if they are consistently making the same variance change, then that should be taken by the planning commission as adopting and changing the code to address that issue. And it's been done several times. And, you know, issues with proximity of front porches to the front property line. That we have received many requests for that, and historically we have granted those, and thusly we're proposing to make a change to the zoning code regarding that. So if our thought is to just tell non-conforming lots to go to the zoning board of appeals to get a variance, and the thought is that those variances should be granted, then why not just make a change to the code so that they're not non-conforming?
Each case is individual.
Each case is individual, but if we're consistently making the same decision regarding similar cases, then we should adopt that change to the zoning code. And if a perfect example is the Southern and Crandall's addition. We have a whole section of the zoning code regarding the existing lots to address their issue. So unless we want to recreate and add that language back in and have another specific section to them, why not just adopt a code that works for as many properties as we can? And just as a side note, if we, let's say for the sake of argument, we didn't have a zoning code at all today, and we were starting from scratch with no preconceived notions, and we wanted to come into this with making the majority of properties conforming to the code, but still having outliers on either side that don't. If you apply a bell curve with a standard deviation, then the minimum lot width by math would be 46 feet. So I feel that 52 is already a concession. I'll just throw that out there for thoughts.
Okay. All right, what should we pencil in today?
Hopefully this doesn't make things more confusing. So we've got people kind of evenly spread on the lower end between 52 and 60. Are those hard numbers to come up with 57? I mean, that's kind of how arbitrary that is.
Barry's 55 and all of his neighbors are 55.
Write the code for you.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how new codes are written. New codes today are written on existing conditions. They're not based on arbitrary numbers.
Go back to my narrative. I don't let politics dictate the right decision, but we have to include that. Today's standard small lot is 65, right or wrong or indifferent. And so if we reduce it, which I'm actually in favor of, then it's kind of like, what's the subjective painful number? And 52 caused outrage, not that that shouldn't absolutely dominate our decision, but it's something to be concerned with, because we get this thing all the way down to the 1 yard line and have it blow up again. And we've lost the other elements. That's an extreme case, but it's possible. So if it's not 52, if 60 is too big, it could be anywhere between 55 and 58 as far as I'm concerned. I don't care, because now it's getting down to this. The level of non-conformities might wiggle 1%, right? So then it becomes what's the narrative, what's the story?
Okay.
Part of me says, I mean, can we table this until we can talk about use it? Or if you want to actually write something down.
I'd love to just have something in the box, and then we'll come back and we'll say, makes sense, doesn't make sense.
We can change it.
I was just gonna say, along those lines, Jim, how about we pencil a number in, and then when we decide what the potential uses are, if the consequences seem too nefarious or burdensome, then we can go back and revisit it. But yeah, I think we really should have a number to plug in there for today, if we can.
Somebody pick a number.
All right, I don't like it, but I'm gonna say 60 feet is our pencil and number for tonight. Doesn't really solve a problem, it's more of a political. consideration. Yeah. Yes,
I'm sorry to raise this issue, again, Patrick Kenny, but I've heard it now a couple of times being stated and thrown around. I wish you wouldn't use this word political, and maybe I'm misinterpreting how you're using it. But it seems to me that it's going against the theme of the activity and the involvement of the community and the people that are here.
oh, I see.
So I appreciate it, you know, I get it that there are other opinions, but I don't think they should be what seemingly is derogatory. And that's how I'm taking it.
Okay, well, sorry about that. I'm thinking downstream to city council, and they are the political leaders of our community. They are the ones who are elected. They're the ones who are gonna have to vote to approve or modify this thing. So, wasn't supposed to be derogatory. We love city council. Okay, I'm gonna suggest we pencil in 60 tonight. I'm not crazy about it, but you, how do people feel?
That's what the
Can you live with it?
I think it's a good place home.
Jeannie, Chip, can you live with it for a week or two?
I mean, get the eraser on that pencil.
Okay. How do you like the other aspects of this district?
R1B, R1C, that district, page 3.
Page 3, sorry, yeah, R1B, R1C. This has the shed concept as well.
The existing code side setbacks is 10 feet for R1B or 12% of lot width, whichever is higher, right?
I'm sorry, you're on
Side.
side setbacks for the principal building.
Is 10 feet or 12% of lot width, whichever is higher.
That's today.
Okay.
In one of the two districts were combined. The other one is 8 feet or 12%,
Whichever is higher.
whichever is higher. You know, we're proposing to get rid of that percent aspect on side yard setbacks and just go with a hard number for ease of implementation and understanding. All right, should we consider this one penciled for the night?
Yep.
Good answer. Okay. The back to page 4. This is R2 two-family. The thought was that we would have the similar dimensions for this one.
I have 2 questions on this one.
Yep.
We are doing a minimum lot width. That I want to go through the same dialogue, but we have to come up with a number and it may not be suitable to be super small. The other is the minimum floor area 864. Again, I'm thinking R2 two-family. I don't know if those numbers are appropriate or not. Those are the 2 numbers that I called out.
Lots of non-conforming properties in R2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 100-foot wide, 100-foot width of a lot. Some are probably compliant with that, but I think many of them are not. I think most of them are significantly smaller.
I know my duplex is.
Yeah,
It was 75 feet, because I own several properties in R2, and it was, when we bought our properties, it was 75 feet. Which many of them, none of our lots, one of them conformed to that, the other ones did, even to the 75. And then it was increased to 100, which made even more of them non-conforming.
realistically, I think if you look at the areas where our 2 properties are, they're predominantly in areas very near in proximity to R1C. And I think a lot of the lots, like if you look at the north side of 3rd Street at the bottom of Judd.
Yeah.
As you come down the hill and along Judd, into downtown, the north side is R2. But right before on the other side of Judd, it's R1C. Also you have R1C then on Third Street and then Main Street, and then you cross Main Street and you hit R2. So I think that in a lot of ways, R2 is very similar in property sizes to R1C. With the difference being that they are allowed to have duplexes.
Say 65 feet, 65, yeah.
So the thought would be that it might make sense for these dimensions to be the same as the sheet we were just working on, with a regular R1B, R1C combination. They can always be bigger.
Two family means duplex, not two separates.
I know.
And if I'm not mistaken, the minimum floor area per unit is per unit, so it would be 864 in each of 2 units. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
All right,
I'm comfortable with this.
make it the same as what we just decided?
Yep. So is that 60 feet?
Yep.
Got it. And 864.
Yep. Okay. R1E, we said we're gonna leave alone.
Yes, thank you.
2. These are the 22 properties at the far west side. Although we could put in the shed, same shed methodology for these properties.
This in there.
It's on the sheet, yeah.
Why wouldn't we, if we're putting it in all of the others, why wouldn't we put it in here?
Yeah.
Is there an issue with West Travis Township, is there agreement with them about the restrictions can and can't be here?
I'm unclear on that.
So we did go back and look at the agreement, 425 agreement.
Yeah.
There is a section that basically states that at least certain aspects of the zoning code can't be changed. But it states, look at Exhibit B. And Exhibit B is just a map. So we probably need to do a little bit more research, but if Exhibit B is a map, then probably that means minimum lot sizes, setbacks, things like that, as opposed to getting into the discussion of uses. So.
Well, then that would include the shed.
Yeah, all right, so let's take the shed out of the.
They take the what?
Let's,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna take the shed thing out of R1E. Because it doesn't matter, and we don't know if it's completely kosher. All right,
And we do have stories listed here. We've been taking the stories out.
right. No, I think we should leave these exactly alone.
I agree.
R1,
That's fine.
exactly alone. Thanks for mentioning that. And then, R1A. These are big lots. And we had decided that this district would remain, keep things pretty much the same. First page 1. The only change in here would be the new front setback methodology that we're favoring, which would be the choice of a 25-foot setback or the average of the other homes on the block on your street.
You have it here on the blue on the lot with 80 question mark or 100 question mark.
Yeah, it's 100 today.
Yeah.
There are significant properties in R1A that are not at 100 feet. I might recommend dropping it to someone.
That's
To help with that.
huge, that's 900. The one that is tore down,
I know, they got a variance,
yeah, it's only 60,
right? 75 actually.
I marked it out, yeah.
Okay, so we could make it 80 or we could keep it 100.
I would like to keep it 100.
We should analyze that. I think Jeff's right. A lot of the lots there are non-conforming with 100.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it 100. If we come back with some more data that would give us a different decision, we can do that. Okay.
Question, keep it 100, yes. Is this an area where someone could take a large lot in R1A and divide it? And what are the ramifications of that? Some of those properties I know are very large. And what we choose, it might get to the point where divisions are possible. I don't know. Might be worth looking at when you analyze it.
Kenny, I guess my thought on that would be, if we leave it 110,000 square feet, that's what it is today, so why hasn't it happened?
I agree. Well, my thought is if we go to 80, will that create new opportunity for some? I don't know. Maybe the answer is, so what? But, the owners like their property size there. I just want to understand that.
Yeah.
Without more data, I'm totally fine to leave it at 100 feet, leave it exactly.
I'll bring back data.
What's that?
So we'll bring the data back. We can analyze it really quick.
Great. Okay,
Remind me of the 2.5 stories. What does that mean?
that's the way it reads today.
I know, but
I think we should remove story height. Because we've been doing it in other, but
I agree with that too.
In 2 places?
Yeah.
So we're not gonna change that in R1E because we're leaving that exactly the same as we can.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, we are doing great. You know where this leaves us though? AR. The one everybody's been waiting for.
what page is that?
It is page 5. So AR today has very similar dimensions to R1A. Although the minimum lot area is actually 12,000 square feet instead of 10,000 square feet, if it's related to a single family dwelling. If it's farm use or others, it's only a 10,000 square foot minimum. It's kind of a quirk.
And the minimum floor area in R1A is 1,200 versus it's 1,000, the residential. They are.
And that's the,
dwelling size.
House itself. The dwelling.
is that the problem you ran into?
Yeah, that was one of the issues.
All right. So. Let's talk about a couple things that we've learned. I've recently learned that we all have a property right that we probably didn't even know of. Everybody who owns property in the city of Harbor Springs can have a commercial farm operation on your property. That's through the Michigan Right to Farm Act. The name, or the word right, is in the title of the act. So I have no idea on this. And I want to thank the Hestons for beginning my education on it. So I've talked to MSU Extension, the land use expert, about the Michigan Right to Farm Act. And they say that the act is very simple and very clear, that we all have the right to operate commercial agriculture on our property. And the only thing you need to be declared as a commercial operator is to sell 1 egg per year. So, or it could be a dozen apples, whatever. So this was a breakthrough, and this act is so strong. In fact, its purpose is to prevent local governments from restricting commercial agriculture. So we all become commercial farmers. And that was new information to me. Other thing is that local governments cannot choose which type of farm operation is permitted in a zoning district. If agriculture is allowed, then all types of farming need to be allowed. So somebody could start with crops and move up to livestock if they want to. Now, there are some extra rules the Hestons have informed us about called GAMPs, generally accepted agricultural management practices. And a farmer can choose to comply with the GAMPs rules or not. And if they do comply, then it does provide some buffer, and agricultural operations for livestock have to be within X feet from nearby property line or the dwelling. But I mean, it's amazing. We actually have some properties. There could be some properties on Glen Drive that would be big enough for livestock if someone wanted to. And I sure didn't know this. Somebody could start with chickens and trade up to sheep and goats and move up to swine. Yeah, and it is so clear local government cannot prevent that and cannot restrict it. So the other thing I learned is that a city does not need a separate zoning district for agriculture or agriculture in some mix, because it's permitted by right everywhere. And so I think the city should take a neutral position on commercial agriculture, where we would not discourage it, but we wouldn't encourage it either. The Michigan Right to Farm Act takes care of that. So I don't think we need a separate zoning district for agriculture. In fact, there's actually some extra risk in that, having one.
Because if we have one, then that means the other districts can participate in that activity.
The other districts can already participate in that activity.
Yeah.
So what are the risks of having an agriculture?
Yeah. Let me read you what MSU extension says. Yeah, what's clear, however, is that local government cannot choose which type of farm operation is permitted in a zoning district. If agriculture is allowed, then all types of farming need to be allowed. That could make it easier to move into livestock or something else that's undesirable. If
there's a specified rule in there, what makes it loud, and that has to do with density.
Yeah.
Density is what makes it allowed or not allowed. It's not like it's a rule. If we allow farming here, it can be everywhere.
Well,
it's actually how dense the houses are.
Well, yeah, I can only go by what the land use specialist at MSU Extension said.
Who is the same person every time?
Here's some things just to give you a feel for what a city cannot limit. Cannot limit the number of livestock per acre. Cannot require a site plan be submitted and approved by the local administrator. Cannot limit manure application to fields. It cannot specify manure application methods and require a comprehensive nutrient management plan. So the purpose of this act is to protect farmers from cities trying to restrict their use. And so that's funny, we're not in that position. We don't think we're trying to prevent agriculture. But I don't think we need a separate zoning district to permit it, since we all have the capability.
You want to discuss uses then?
And I think we could if we take agriculture off the table, we can have an honest discussion about whether we just want big lots or we want medium lots in this area.
I think a key difference is whether or not you want to see non-commercial agriculture. The Right to Farm Act protects commercial agriculture. So in that example of one egg, that chicken that lays that one egg, that's protected. But if they also happen to have horses that are not for commercial use, that's not protected. So if you have an agricultural zoning district with other permitted agricultural uses, that could be non-commercial. So if that's what you would like to see, then we could keep the district. If you don't think that we need to protect those rights and that the Right to Farm Act is sufficient in its protection, then we might not need an agricultural district.
For the existing homeowners that rely on those rights, the horses or whatever, do we have lots of those?
Do we have any of them right now?
I'm asking, I don't know, how to see.
No.
Do they value their potential right to own a horse? I don't want to take away someone's right.
Under the existing agricultural district that we have, we do not permit any livestock. So there is no right for horses and whatnot right now for non-commercial use.
Right.
Right now, the existing agricultural district provokes and provides the ability for crops. But I think realistically, we already kind of allow that in our other districts anyway, or the Right to Farm Act could, protect that as well.
How does it protect it if it's not commercial?
Well, I guess it doesn't, but yeah.
So to be commercial, all you have to do is sell, let's say, one apple a year. Or one egg, or one squash or something,
Or honey squash.
or honey. And then you can play the card, oh, sorry, Right to Farm Act. You can't tell me what to do.
Well, let's look at it from the other side of the equation. What's the benefit of having an agricultural district if everybody has the right to farm?
You could have horses.
If you use some commercial.
What's the benefit of getting rid of it, just for us to have one less district?
Yes, and MSU is hinting at the fact that by not having a specific district called agricultural something, that there could be reduced risk to the city for breeding of livestock. Yeah.
Well, so as probably one of the few people who are particularly interested in this, my name is Scott Hudson, 684 West Bluff Drive. I don't have any plans for a giant pig farm with poop runoff. These are not things that I'm interested in. But there's a lot more to the agricultural district as written than what we're talking about. We're talking about the right to have greenhouses, the right to have barns, the right to have accessory structures in various locations. That's a rather major difference. When we were talking a few weeks ago about the sizes, with the discussion for today, the sizes, yeah, I didn't have any issue with the sizes being similar to R1A. That seems, pretty reasonable. But
Have you purchased the property?
ever since January of last year, I've been in all of these meetings, submitted.
So I
know,
have to go get started.
We've discussed it multiple times, the types of worries that I have. And this is something that I think you were gonna discuss with, I forget, our council Raymer's first name, I apologize, Jim Raymer. You were gonna discuss whether the idea of the rather large body of pre-existing law on agriculture would it change precedent, whether it's an agricultural overlay or an agricultural zone? And I think that the general consensus is that does change precedent. Now to make a new argument to get rid of AR entirely, well, so my argument about whether it should not be an overlay, it should be a zone, because that allows the entire body of local appellate and Supreme Court history to apply directly as precedent. So I already know what I can and can't do. I know what you guys can tell me I can and can't do, and it's in my mind, a friendly and low risk situation. I know I can't put 40 cows right next to his house. I can't do that, because there will be laws about that. It'll be settled court cases. So leaving it as an AR, I already know what I can and can't do. The sizing was already fairly settled. The difference I think that we were talking about is what are the allowed uses versus the non-allowed uses. And one of the major differences is accessory structures in front of the main structure. That's allowed. There's also, and only in the farm, not like I can't build a 3-car garage on the road, but I can have a small farm stand allowed in front of my little U driveway where there used to be a farm stand. I remember as far in the back, there has been a farm stand there before. So those are, I think, the things that I'm most concerned about when I sort of a seismic shift. I wasn't expecting you to make that suggestion to get rid of it entirely. I thought we were discussing whether it was going to be a zone or an overlay. So I could prepare my issues. I guess, are you planning to allow those same sort of farming structures to be built in every other zone? Or is that a right that you're taking away from me?
Actually, the Michigan Right to Farm Act says that farm operation means the operation and management of a farm for a condition or activity that occurs at any time necessary on a farm in connection with the commercial production, harvesting, and storage of farm products, and includes, but is not limited to, marketing produce at roadside stands or farm markets, generation of noise, odors, dust, fumes, and other associated conditions, the operation of machinery and equipment. So it sounds pretty thorough.
Well, so that would be a good question. And so if I say, I need a sign, I need a sign in front of my U-shaped driveway that says I have eggs for sale, and I want a small stand to put those eggs.
Yep.
And I go to Jeff and say, can I do this? Is he gonna say yes? And again, you're right, we could just say, this is not an issue. If that's the sort of thing that I can just say, I want a greenhouse at the top of my driveway, and it's going to be 1,200 square feet. That's not gonna affect anybody else if I have a greenhouse there. Apparently it's legal. I just wanna be a good neighbor. I don't wanna cause problems. I really, if I were to get a horse, it would be a little Icelandic pony for me. We're not talking about anything, so I think the question really for me is about whether I want to fight about it or not is what are you expecting to be allowed and what would be friendly to everyone? If we've already sort of said, you had penciled in before that R1A was going to be similar to this. I have some pretty big issues about reducing those side setbacks significantly. But so if we're gonna set a property width of 100 feet, and the side setback was one of the issues that I had prior to this, I really was not in favor of reducing the side setbacks. But if we're gonna say you have no rules because the Michigan Right to Farm Act protects you, I just don't want to be a bad neighbor. I want to be a good neighbor and conform to as many rules as possible so that we don't have to find those things out. So, I mean, I don't even know where I would go there because I really wasn't prepared for that step. So I would say, if you're gonna put side setbacks of 15 feet in there, and the other setbacks we've got listed there that are what I bought the house under those conditions. I assumed that's what I was going to be able to do. I've been working on that for several years. If that's what you're gonna do, then. But if we're gonna go down to 8 feet, that's awfully tight. And that's gonna cause more conflict with my neighbors, I think. Like again, I don't spray manure on my crops. I'm not planning to. Obviously, you have to predict what we could do. And if we could mow down all those forests and put in row crops, or specifically the previous uses, we were discussing the Irwin, previous owners of the property had 200 fruit trees on that property. And I don't say, these are not things that I'm planning, but I don't see that as being something that's super problematic to neighbors. So if we could come up with some setback side rules, I don't know where to go from there. I mean, that was sort of a direct question. Can I build it says right now that I can build a greenhouse. It says I can build a farm stand. Do I need those protections? Should I be worried about that? And I guess I'll throw that out as to you guys, should I be worried about that?
You got a really strong state law behind you. It is so clear and so strong. It's only 4 pages.
Does it dictate his issues about side setbacks,
No.
greenhouses in front?
No.
So, but the right to farm, yes. But some of these dimensional issues that we're now debating, sounds like they're up in the air.
And how many accessory buildings can he have on his property?
Can he build a greenhouse in front of his house or not? Depends on us, not on that farm act. Right?
You know, it says, you can do what you need for commercial farm.
Okay, and then take it to court if somebody says you can't do that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they specify roadside stands, and you certainly be a sign on a roadside stand.
The reason I'm going in this direction is I'm hearing him talk very eloquently about some of the specifics on his land.
Yeah.
And you're arguing on the higher level language of rights of farming. You're both right, but you're kind of doing this.
But we haven't gotten the uses yet. And, if we wanted to say, number of accessory structures is something else, we could do that. If, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. But I just want to share with you my learning from Michigan State.
Have we vet this through Jim as far as the legality of?
Pardon me?
Have we vet this through Jim as far as the legality of making this change? And just making sure that he's protected as well as the city as far as these are the rights that he would be able to do.
Jim didn't have an opinion on state law.
Okay.
And the time to involve him probably would be when we decide what the right policy would be.
Okay.
So I did stuff. So let me ask the planning commission, based on what we've learned, does it make sense to have a separate district for this with the word agricultural in it?
So you're saying that the setback concerns that he raised are addressed here, and he's protected?
No, but we're gonna set the dimensions.
You would
Tonight.
set that.
We're gonna set the dimensions tonight for the or what was the AR district. And we could say, oh, if we're not gonna have a district, it ought to be like such and such then. Or ought to be like something, right? And we may have a residential district that fits it well.
Well, R1A seems to be the one that would, yeah.
Okay, Bill, I'm sorry. Explain to me again one more time. Why are we setting ourselves up for a problem if we have an AR?
It's not a guaranteed problem. All I can go by is what Michigan State said. Let me read it to you again.
Okay.
A local government cannot choose which type of farm operation is permitted in a zoning district. If agriculture is allowed, then all types of farming need to be allowed.
Your concern is the word agriculture in the name of this current zone? Take that word agriculture out, that fix your problem?
I don't know if it's the word, but is there a need to actually have a separate district if the state law is so much stronger and overlays all of our properties?
Oh, here again, sorry, but I revert back to my previous discussion. Right to farm is clear. I'm embracing everything that you're proposing. Right to have the ability to make his property the way he wants it is not something that I want to unravel by calling this some sort of residential district and allowing the rights to farm to dictate all the freedoms that he now has.
I agree with that.
So not fitting it into an existing residential, but a standalone residential with another name?
Call it the Northwest District if you want, I don't care. If that decouples your concern about future lawsuits.
No,
then let-
I'm really not concerned about future lawsuits. I'm just seeing there just isn't a need for a separate district unless we come up with some uses or some kind of configuration issues that.
Well, are we gonna see what his configuration off of like Glen Drive?
Well, the other issue is you've got a whole section of land in the city up in the northwest quadrant. That's all AR. It just more so than just Scott's property. And, you know, you could keep his property zoned AR. The other properties, if they don't have any ag on them, you feel free to change the zoning on them.
Yeah, I don't wanna come up with, I don't wanna have two zonings on my property, and I don't think my neighbors do either. We have that little strip going across. Whether it's B or C or A or what, I'm just thinking. But I guess and then we also still have the right to farm if we really wanted to. If I wanted to do something in front of mine, I could, I guess, but I just don't like that strip going across. It just seems very convoluted. And you have your farm stop, but wonder if you don't have it in the future. I mean, I think we just need to think about future too. And do we want it to have just that strip be AR and how we're gonna divide it? But I have this weird purple thing going across these properties and it just doesn't seem right.
That's pretty, I can tell you, that's pretty weird.
That would be really big, wouldn't that do the backing block on the right side of the road there? And that way went across the street there. I don't know. Yeah, that right there.
Here's.
Yeah, ours
Yeah.
too, but isn't that because the bluff actually comes to right that side of 119? Wasn't that the reason why it was, yeah, on my plat, it says this is a, some kind of a, why am I forgetting the word? It says on my plat, the preserved area.
I'm kind of grabbing a tiger by the tail here, but it seems like we have two similar districts, completely different in many ways, but very similar in one. In the TR district on Bay Street, we had one property owner with a higher intensity of use. And we said, let's just make that zone residential and that property will be non-conforming or we'll handle it another way. And in this situation here, it's primarily the same. We primarily have a neighborhood that is mostly residential with one property owner looking for a higher intensity of use.
Well, we have Oni tonight, so, and then Mick gets excited because Oni's excited.
Margaret's iPad.
Jeff can mute it. Rob, did you have something to say?
I have so many thoughts going on. I don't, it's my name's Rob Cumming and you know, we're talking about the agricultural residential district. And, you know, I've met with Scott and I've shared with Scott some thoughts that I've had on a large piece of property that we have next door to Scott, which is owned the agricultural residential. And, you know, which most people don't know that that property was mined years ago to use for the sand up at the high school, which is quite a big scar on the property. And when I bought the property, I had no idea that there was zoning even talking about being taking place. And, you know, with what We Love Harbor Springs brought to the table in all these meetings, you know, the existing zoning allows 12,000 square foot lots and the total acreage, you can put 37 lots according to what the existing zoning is. The proposed zoning, you know, you could have put
55 lots, which to me is way too much density. I mean, how do you get a mixture of a compromise between all these issues that we're talking about? And I mean, you talk about, you know, what's the right, what lot width? I mean, the studies that you can do on this are really fascinating to look at a lot in downtown Harbor Springs that's 30 foot by 100 foot versus a lot that's up the street that's 52 feet by 52 feet. And, you know, there's lots of studies that we've been working on, and it's, you know, what's the right approach to take here? Because I mean, I have a vested interest in wanting to keep the neighborhood consistent and to do the right thing aesthetically, you know, and eventually I do want to develop this piece of property. And, you know, this whole new zoning that, you know, that we're all discussing, you know, has some benefits and some disadvantages to everybody. You know, when we're doing these open houses, is it possible to maybe come in and, you know, do some drawings for some people to give everyone some options to what we're talking about? Because it's a big swath of land up there that, you know, I think, you know, what happens is important, not just to me as an owner, but to the neighbors and to the community at whole. You know, and how do you do something that aesthetically works well for the community and, you know, and brings the natural nature conservancy that's across the street into it and incorporates some agricultural that, you know, makes all of our properties cohesive together.
Well, I see a couple paths forward on this. One, based on when we know, we decide, you know what, we just don't need separate district for agriculture in the city of Harbor Springs. People there are free to run under the Right to Farm Act and proceed with their life and have a great life. We put that property into a residential district, which kind of sounds like R1A, which has 10,000 square foot lot minimums. Has the setback of R1A, large. And we care for any uses that the husband, for instance, can Tulsa. That might be a problem. Two, we just say, whoa, too much new info. Let's proceed with, we'll keep the AR district. And even though we really know it's residential, and then we'll set some dimensions on it.
Question. The AR district is up by Just Street. Is that part of our equation?
We've been figuring that would just turn into residential.
And everybody up there is okay with that?
Well, it's up to us to decide what's best for the community, which sounds pompous.
It'd be nice to not take away people's rights and.
Agree.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, run all the greenhouses. Yeah, pretty sure all over greenhouses.
So we're in the business of penciling in some answers, right? So if I had to pencil in an answer, what would your preference be on keeping it as a zoning district or rolling it into R1A?
Personally, I think that when you get into uses, I think that you're gonna see that there's gonna be some different uses that you will see. Because predominantly, the only other R1A that we have is waterfront. And I think that when you get into the discussion of uses, you'll see some differences.
Okay.
So you may want to keep it as a separate district, regard whatever you decide you want to call
Great point.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Okay. All right. Sense to me. So for penciling purposes tonight, we're gonna keep it as a district. And what are you thinking about dimensions? It's really just lot width and lot minimum.
Existing. Lot width.
If we're penciling, I would agree.
Okay. How about minimum lot area? Shouldn't that be 10,000, which is kind of consistent with,
I think 10,000.
R1A? Fine. Okay, great. And carry over current dimensions pretty much into that right column?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, okay.
You just say carry over all the R1A or over the ones that are currently exist.
Currently exists.
Currently existing, except for the minimum lot area, which would be 10,000 square feet instead of 12,000.
Were we proposing to remove the percentage lot width side thing, yeah.
Yes, for the side setback? It'll just be a, yes.
Will be a
So say what it is, 15
Okay,
feet?
yeah, so let's go down. Minimum lot area will be 10,000. Maximum lot coverage will be 35%. Front setback will be a choice of 30 feet or street average. Side setback would be 15 feet. Rear setback would be, what do you think? What's your preference? 30 for a farm, 35 for single family.
Strange.
Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah.
Okay, 30, sounds good. Corner side lot setback, same, it'll be the same as the front setback. Maximum height, 35 feet.
Yep.
No stories. Minimum floor area, 1,000.
Yes.
Permitted location, same, front side, rear. Side setback for the accessory building, same.
Yes.
100 feet from the road, 50 from any property line. Principal building setback from, this is for an accessory building, be 5 feet. Maximum height 30. So that's higher than we allow in other places. If it works today, we're good with it?
Yeah.
I think it's
That is the accessory farm building.
Maximum height for the
Okay.
accessory building.
Yeah.
All right,
And jump back to the top, minimum lot width, 100.
100.
Okay.
Yep.
And I don't understand the 30 versus 35. What was that? That's
Rear
the
setback.
accessory, rear setback, or front.
Front setback.
Front setback, yeah.
Yeah, and rear.
Yeah, why is there the two numbers?
Don't know, it's the existing zoning code.
Because.
There's one that has to do
Like
with,
it says you have to follow the R1A, well, R1A, it's a rear setback of 35. So what would the 30 be in reference to?
I believe when you look at the AR district,
Says refers-
so depending on the use of the building, different setbacks come into play. So if it's like a single family home, it says use what's in R1A, but then for in other sections, it specifies different setbacks. So that's where we're probably coming up with two different principal building setbacks of 30 versus 35 for front. And I think we see that in the rear as well.
Yeah. Should we pencil 35 then, because we're thinking about families and at least for now, aligning with R1A?
Yeah, because I already did the 35, so.
up to you,
35 is fine.
like 35, you got it.
That's called front and rear.
The name is PBD.
Front setback 35, good, all right. And just make everything the same down in the accessory building other,
Yes.
right? Okay,
We really didn't talk about the pros and cons of an overlay.
no,
About that. I don't care about that.
yeah, we could, but if we pencil in, we're gonna keep it as a standalone district.
Yeah,
and,
good.
you know, and if people are more comfortable that way, then fine. All right. We have filled in our worksheet.
I hate to do this.
Yeah.
Well, you do go.
Never good when you
After we let R1 B, R1C, phase 3. I kept looking back. Accessory building. Side and rear setbacks. And the blue showed 10 feet, which was larger than either of the pre-existing setbacks. And we're going to a smaller lot size. I'm struggling with those setbacks at 10 feet.
So if I can respond, the reason that we came up with that 10 feet is the side yard setback, when we see these accessory buildings that are now coming in, typically 2 stories with living on the second floor. there has been a privacy concern from neighbors with side yards of that proximity. And so where previously in some neighborhoods, a accessory building could be just 5 feet. We propose moving it a little bit farther to preserve some of those privacy issues and protect those neighbors. So we're proposing that an accessory building that would, would have that larger setback. But this is then where we came up with the idea of, for people that just want a 1-story small storage building like a shed or something, that we would create a new definition called shed or whatever we want to call it. And then have those still be permitted to be that's closer 5-foot setback to the side yard.
So would a 1-story garage without a residential on top of it be considered in that shed?
I think it would depend on the size of the garage. We'll need to specify a size limit that buildings up to a certain amount would be able to meet that closer setback. The concern that I have with permitting garages to be closer than a 2-story garage is we do occasionally get requests from people that have an existing garage and they want to add a second floor. And so if we say a 1-story garage can be closer, now we're creating a situation where at some point a future owner or that current owner, and they decide to go up, they're immediately then going to be coming to the ZBA for a variance request. So why not just say 1-story, like a typical 2-car garage is 24 by 24, which is 576 square feet. So I think if we pick something around 500 or larger and say those need to be this farther distance. And if somebody wants let's say a 1-car garage or a shed, that can be closer. Because I think it's less likely that they would want to add a second floor above that.
Okay, well, thanks for the clarification. I'm still, well, it's not voted on yet.
No, everything's still pencil.
Just trying to provide some logic behind the reasoning of where we came up with those.
Looks like we have a hand up on Zoom, Maureen Ken.
Maureen, Quenny or Kenny?
Been up for like an hour.
Maureen, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry for the delay.
Yeah, no worries at all. And I know we've been at this for 3 hours and 15 minutes, so I appreciate this. Just 3 very general observations from tonight, and maybe you can answer the question. Is our city fire truck, does it have a ladder to accommodate everything as it relates to building heights in the city? Can we go up to 50 feet? Does anybody have an answer for that?
The audience is nodding, they believe
The
so.
recently purchased ladder truck will deal with the bank building, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, Maureen.
Yep, let's just confirm that. I think that would be great information to have. Let's just confirm that.
Okay.
And then question 2, has the police department been brought in with increased population? Have they been brought into safety issues? Do we need hire more police as we bring in more people into town? Has Kyle been brought into any of the planning commission proposals and the impact on population?
Joe, do you know how many more people we're gonna have? I don't think I can. Looking at this would be not many.
Okay, I just think it would be an important conversation to have.
Okay.
Okay, and then my third question is, have sewer studies been done? Again, we don't know, we know the existing number of people living here. Perhaps we're gonna have more people living here. Has a sewer study been done? I recall recently to hear that we're kind of at our maximum. So has a sewer study been done? And I think that would be very important to planning commissioners to understand that component. Do we have a sewer study that's been recently done to see if we're at capacity?
Yeah, density learning segment on March 20th, we did look into all utilities for the theoretical maximum number of additional dwelling units that could be built on 110 unimproved acres. Got that?
No, I don't.
So this is we have 110 acres in the city of Harbor Springs in residential districts that is unimproved. That's Jeff's lingo for there's nothing on, it's a vacant property. We took a look at the density of Harbor Springs and calculated a theoretical number of additional homes that could be built in the whole city. And that, there were 110 homes, sorry, 30 and a half vacant acres times 3.6 dwelling units per acre. So there's a theoretical maximum of 110 additional homes that could be built in the city of Harbor Springs.
And utilities can support that.
And, okay, now the utilities, electric, yes, additional substations already required and being built. Water, yes, drinking water capacity is ample. Sewer, yes, treatment capacity is ample. Most likely housing growth is to the west, where there is actually no sewer service. So that'll have to be figured out by the owners of property out there. And expansion of sewer service could be considered if residents want it. So that's what we know.
And that's assuming all 110 residences would be
Yeah,
built.
and with these unbelievable assumptions in it, like every property owner decides that they want to build a home and that every building is in the right place and that there's enough material and labor available and the economics make sense. And anyway, at our current rate of 5 new homes per year, it would take us more than 20 years to build our 110 home.
Bill, is it possible to see that sewer study? Is it anywhere publishable?
It's summarized here in the density presentation, and that's all I have from the Department of Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
All right. How do people feel? Tired. Tired. Good work. Okay. So we're gonna see each other again 2 weeks from tonight, same time, same place. And we'll have updated worksheets. We can look at those, and then we're gonna go into uses. And I'll come up with some type of a worksheet for uses, like existing uses and existing districts, and then we'll have some spaces where we can fill in the blank. We now know the districts, so it's ideal. And we can begin to populate our S's and P's and blanks. All right, thank you, everybody. That was great. Thank you. Appreciate all the brain power. Let's see.